Whether by land, sea, or air, if you're a gamer going on a trip, you're going to want to pack some games to play. In this episode, we're here to help you choose what to pick and pack.
Welcome to episode 306 of the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, which we're calling Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Great Travel Board Games, where we're going to be talking about the kinds of games we think are good for playing on the go, followed by some travel game recommendations.
We're also going to be sharing games that we've played since getting back from Origins Game Fair, and then we're going to wrap up with 3 reviews, all of which are games we would seriously consider bringing on our next trip. And that's Flamecraft Duals, Thrive, and 3 Witches.
Before all that, though, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Sean, your host, and from the subterranean Bellhop offices, Deanna.
Hey to all the Bellhop boarders.
And of course, Mo, the Tabletop Bellhop himself.
I am Mo Tuzano, the Tabletop Bellhop, your cardboard concierge, working with you to make your game nights better.
We like to record on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Tabletop Bellhop, and we love when people join us in the lobby, our chat room here on Twitch.
Next up, a bit of housekeeping. First off, disclosure. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, any links you see are most likely going to be affiliate links. Whenever you use one of our affiliate links, it costs you nothing extra and does help to support the show.
And speaking of supporting the show, I'd like to point out that this episode exists in part thanks to our awesome Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons. You can join that elite crew at patreon.com/tabletopbellhop.
And last up, let's talk about show notes. If you head over to our website, we have show notes, and that's where you are going to be able to find links to absolutely everything that we talk about in this episode. Just head over to tabletopbellhop.com/306. That's the numbers 306.
Well, before we get talking about travel games, we'll get a quick heads up on some upcoming local events.
All right, next Thursday, July 16th, we got a free brews and board games event at the Walkerville Brewery from 5 to 9 p.m. here in Windsor, Ontario.
Next up after that is The Summoning. This is Windsor's largest gaming convention, and it is returning to St. Clair College this month. Saturday, July 18th from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m., featuring esports, tabletop miniature games, TCG tournaments with some big cash prizes, a board game library with over 100 games to play, lots of play-to-win board games, an extra life auction, and more. Doors are going to open at 9 a.m. for VIP badge holders, 10 a.m. for everyone else. You can grab tickets ahead of time and save. It's going to be $12 in advance or $15 at the door, and either way, $1 from each ticket sale is being donated to Extra Life. You can head over to their website, which is answerthesummoning.com.
And Sunday, July 26th, we're going to be hosting a pop-up board game afternoon at Hidden Trail from noon until 4 p.m., while we have even more hot new games from Origins to show off.
And just a reminder, you can go to tabletopbellhop.com/local to find out about all of our upcoming events. Deanna does a great job of keeping that up to date. With or without giant bells, that problem has been fixed.
The Tabletop Bellhop team is here to answer your gaming and game night questions. Tonight's question comes from Victor Wyatt, who Mo and Deanna enjoyed a meal with at the recent Origins. Victor asks, are there some games that are better for travel than others?
Well, first off, thanks for the great question, Victor, and for meeting up with us at Origins. It was fun playing games with you and your family. Now, the quick answer to your question, of course, yes, definitely. Some games are better for travel than others, and some are absolutely horrible for travel. But we're going to talk about that for a bit, and we're going to follow that up, though, as a bonus and give you recommendations of games we would happily pack for our next trip. Now, we did talk about this topic, sort of, back on episode 172. That's going back quite far, so most of you probably haven't heard that. And if you want to go back through our back catalog, go ahead, but we'll get worse every episode back if you do that way. So it's not a cool way to do it. But that episode was called Take a Trip, Vacation Gaming. But that was a little different, though. At that point, we were focusing on games to play well on vacation that was based about being at your destination. So what you would play when you arrive on your vacation. So like games to bring when you're visiting relatives or games you can play on a beach, etc. This time, we're looking for games you played while traveling, including games that can be played on a train or a plane or maybe on a cruise, including some games to break out during layovers or at a rest stop or at a coffee shop when you're taking a break. If you're looking for a list of games to play once you get to your destination, do check that out, episode 172. Like, I still stand by every game we recommended then. Now, since Deanna literally just got back from a trip yesterday where they brought games, why don't you start us off?
So as Mo already went over, it's kind of a wide question. It depends on where you're going and if you want to be playing during the trip or once you get there. So the games I would bring on a camping trip are different than the ones I'd pack if we're going to visit your uncle's farm. And as you said, we've already talked about that before. I'll probably drop a link to our board game camping episode that was back in 2019. But there are also always new games, so I'm sure that list would change now too. Though I still think Quirkle Travel Edition would always top the camping list for me. But destination considerations, you're bringing it camping, you want to play it outdoors versus playing en route. Is this good to play on a train or on a tiny airplane table or maybe even in a car? And when you're thinking about playing on a train, for example, it is more than just table size that you need to consider. Does it have lots of tiny bits that are going to get lost? Are the game pieces going to slide around when the ride gets a little bumpy? Because sometimes the train picks up speed and there's a little, what do you call it? It's not turbulence on a train, but it's definitely bumpy. So Gwen and I had talked about bringing Flamecraft Duals on our trip earlier this week, and we ended up leaving it at home because those lovely acrylic pieces that I really like in that game, they end up stacked 3 high, and they're kind of slippery. And I was pretty sure that on the train, they were not going to stay in place. We were going to be playing fetch them off the floor, and that would be a lousy game.
I remember you had the same problem with Quali, which is one of the Gigamech abstract strategy games where the pieces were falling down. It was the same thing when you took it was an overnight train trip that time.
It was our experiences with Koali that made me nix Flamecraft Duals because it was the first game that Gwen suggested. She said, that's the one I want to bring. And I'm like, hey, I want to sit and play it with you, but...
You almost need to downgrade it to cardboard tokens just so they'll stack better for that. And I have to assume on a plane, it'd be the same thing. The last couple plane flights we were on actually had some significant turbulence. And I'm like, in that case, actually, honestly, like no board game would have worked because there was enough sudden drops that, if you had a dice game on your table, everything just got re-rolled.
Some are better than others. Card games seem to do
I think card games
pretty well.
Card games are probably going to be the safest bet for any form of turbulence, but you don't want to be bringing, say, Go Cuckoo with you, and trying to keep all your cuckoo eggs handy. When,
cats knocking things off ledges did not end up on our list tonight.
I think maybe don't try to bring Go Cuckoo through the airport checks, pointy sticks. It sounds like a bad
thing. Yeah, that could be a bad thing. Honestly, I did not even think of that. That's an important one. If you are going through security, that is going to change what you want to bring.
True enough.
I don't know. Maybe you want to leave the metal coins at home, just in case. Also reduce the weight. Like what you're looking for in general though is light, easy to carry, portable games, stuff that'll fit in your backpack or a carry-on. Especially if you want to play on your flight or on your trip. You want small footprint so they fit on those little trays. There are games designed for that. And low component count. You don't want little tiny bits that you can drop or lose.
And a big tip is you don't have to pack the box. Mo kind of got into this in this week's newsletter for you guys that receive our newsletter, but you don't need to bring the box with you, and you might even be able to skip the game board. Like some games have boards that are more for aesthetics than they are for gameplay, and if the board is just a spot that marks where the piles of cards go, you can leave it at home. Some games, like say Aqualin or Zensu, they just need a grid to play on, and I keep meaning to find like a cloth grid board that I could fold up and use for playing while traveling, but I haven't actually done it yet.
I mean, we've got a game that does that in our second review tonight. You could just use that grid.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's the same size as Zensu. I don't think it is. I don't think it would quite work. It's not long enough. Zensu's a long one. But we also talked about doing that for Yokohama. No, not Yokohama. What's the dueling?
Aqualin is one of
Aqualin, Onitama.
Yes.
Onitama, we talked about doing like some kind of cloth map, even though the one that it has is already neoprene. But yeah, those are just some kind of the tips and what we were thinking about when we put together our list of game recommendations. So now that you've heard what we got, I think we're ready to move on.
Well, let's see how well we stuck to our own advice and move on to a list of our favorite games to pack on a trip. We're going to start off with some single-player games, as often people end up traveling alone, starting with 20 Strong from Chip Theory Games.
All right, so this is a card and dice game that really doesn't take up a lot of room. You just need 3 stacks of cards and then maybe a few others that you're going to lay out, spot to put your character, and a place to roll all your dice. It can actually be a very small footprint, and you could even overlap the cards if you happen to have an extremely small amount of space. Now, the core mechanic in this is the 20 strong. The 20 represents the 20 dice in the game. and you're rolling your dice trying to roll hits and crits. All the rest are misses, but you choose which dice to roll, and there's different dice have different amounts. Like the red die is the best in the game, has one crit, all the other sides are hits, you can't miss with it. I don't remember what it is, the green or yellow are the least likely to hit with like one hit, one crit, and all misses. The thing is, you can roll any dice you want. So you're picking an adversary, you're challenging an adversary, you're rolling as many dice as you want, you're assigning hits to hopefully defeat the adversary. But then you're going to refresh your dice pool, and you won't get back all your dice. And that's the whole thing with this game, is it's very much about managing your dice pool. There are various different sets out with different themes and intellectual properties, or licensed games. The version we have is just the original core game that came with an unlicensed setting called Solar Sentinels, which really reminds me of Starship Troopers or possibly Aliens, where you're playing like badass space marines shooting waves and waves of aliens until you get to the boss alien. I think this is actually a really neat version, and I've enjoyed playing this when it's just me on my own, killing time. I've most often done this, not on a trip, but at Devonshire Mall in the food court. But I think it'd be perfect for playing on any type of trip where, again, you have a tray where you can roll the dice on. For more info, to get more details on exactly how this works, we're not reviewing that later. Why did I say review later? Never mind.
And now, one thing I do recommend, if you are going to take a game like that, bring a foldable dice tray. They don't take up much space. They're easy to carry, and they do allow you to roll those dice without having to worry about things skittering off, especially if you're on a plane or something. You don't want to have to go chasing it down the aisle.
It does come with one. So the one top of the box is a dice tray. So it's a little tight.
So next up, I've got Sherlock Solitaire from Wise Wizard Games. I've taken this with me on a few longer overnight train trips, and can confirm, if you're careful with setup, you can squish this one onto a train table. You do have to get a little bit creative. The game plays co-op, but really it's better as a solo game, which makes it a solid solo option to keep you occupied when you're traveling on your own. Just don't expect a murder mystery. Sherlock Solitaire is a solitaire game. We're more in line with classic solitaire traditional card games.
Yeah, this is a game about arranging columns of cards, switching between like suits and powers, and manipulating things back and forth. I like this game two-player. I never tried it solitaire. Another older classic. Honestly, one of the first big hits in the solitaire gaming area. Kind of a hipster game, because it did it before everyone was playing solitaire, before the days of COVID, is Friday. This is a classic game from Friedman Fries, who is the dude who brought us Power Grid. It's by Rio Grande Games, and it's a deck builder where you're Robinson Crusoe stuck on an island with his man Friday, and you're terrible. Robinson is clumsy and stupid, and I forget exactly the words on the cards, but they're all, how about Robinson sucks? But then every time you overcome a challenge, you get to improve those cards, and he starts becoming clever and ingenious. It gets better, and your deck gets better, and the overall goal is to overcome a number of obstacles to get powerful enough to try to escape the island, which has been quarantined by pirates. So you have to get past the pirate ships to get off the island. Small box. There's not a lot of components. It's mostly cards. There's a board, but it's like Deanna said, you could ditch the board. It's just there to hold cards. And then there's some like, I don't know, they're leaves. I don't know if they're palm leaves or what, but they're little leaf tokens for tracking things. And that's about it. This is the first solo game I actually enjoyed. I played a Benny game solo. This is one I'm like, I totally enjoyed playing this on my own, no one else around, trying to solve the puzzle. And it is not easy, which to me is a good thing, because you don't want to get on your train trip from London to Toronto and have beaten the game by Chatham.
All right, I've got Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs from Cephalofair. Now, this one is not as portable as you think. I tested it on the train, and it did not work for me. It's too fiddly, and it takes up just a bit more room than you would think. It has lots of very small bits, and it did not pass the bounce test very well. I know it's been billed as Gloomhaven that you can play on an airplane tray, but I need to see the airplane table that they're playing this one on. Like, are airplane trays bigger than train trays? I haven't been on an airplane in a while. I don't know. Regardless, it's fun. It's another one that's great for keeping you occupied when you're solo, and it is quite small and portable. I just think it makes a better end destination game than an en route one. Maybe for a layover, you're hanging out at a coffee shop, you break this up.
All right, my last solo suggestion, or our last solo suggestion, is the Holiday Hijinks series of 18-card escape room games from our previous sponsor, Grand Gamers Guild. These were on my list last night when I was putting everything together, but then I was cleaning up the Kallax behind me, and I had to move 3 of the newest ones that we just brought home from Origins. I'm like, oh, these would be perfect. This is all you have is 18 cards. It comes in a little tiny pack, doesn't take much room at all. We do recommend that you bring some scrap paper, a notepad, and we also recommend bringing 18 card sleeves and dry erase markers. That way you won't have to destroy anything or write on anything while you're playing. That way you can give the game to someone maybe as a gift at your destination. It's an 18 card puzzle game where you do need your phone, so you need access to the web. These work great for playing solo, but they also work good in small groups. We tend to play them with the kids, so 4 of us, or sometimes with your mom, with 3 of us, or we kind of got everyone together. And just double check the one you're picking up, because one in particular, the Marriage Mix-Up, is specifically designed for 2 teams. And they tend to play in about an hour. So depending on your trip, you can bring more than one. Or the Groundhog Gambit is actually a longer one that plays in about 2 hours. We've reviewed a ton of these, so check out the blog and just go to our review section. You can find reviews of at least the first 9 games in the series.
We've yet to run into one we didn't enjoy.
All right, well, traveling in pairs is also very common. Here are some of our favorite 2-player games to bring on a trip.
I don't know what it is. Something about being on a trip and the vibe when you're there, where it's not just sitting down, at your game table to play a 2-player game. I just dig abstract strategy games for playing on these kind of trips. Like honestly, Connect 4, I would happily play on a train ride for some reason. I like that. It's the feel. I don't know why. If I'm on a trip, throw out the theme. It doesn't really make sense. But the latest abstract game that I'm addicted to is Thrive from Adam's Apple Games. Now, this is a game where all your pieces start off only be able to move 1 space forward, but every time you move a piece, you're going to customize 2 of your pieces to be able to move new ways. And I think it's thinky in a way that can break your brain, but is a great way to keep you occupied on a longer journey.
And you know what I'm going to say next, right, guys? Because you know what I think is even better than Thrive? Zensu from Outset Media Games. This one's super easy to repackage. You just toss the pieces into a drawstring bag or even a plastic Ziploc and you're ready to go. You can take the board along, or as I was talking about earlier, if you've got something to draw a grid out on or a cloth version of a grid, you can use that instead. You don't even really need the rule book because all the ways that the pieces move are right on the pieces. And yeah,
that's one we really should upgrade with some kind of neoprene mat or
I know.
Let's just get Gwen to draw something on a handkerchief.
Keep meaning to do
something.
it. I think a cloth, like a handkerchief size cloth that I could just put the whole thing into a drawstring bag, and it's my Zensu to go. Hey, Outset, market Zensu to go. We need that.
There we go.
All right. Well, I've got Jaipur from Space Cowboys. It's an all-card and poker-sized chips game that becomes even more portable if you just toss everything into a bag or a smaller box. You're collecting or selling goods for tokens and collecting some camels that you can later trade for large sets of goods. This is one of the best 2-player games out there. It's great for a trip. It's great for everything. You should have Jaipur. Why don't you already?
My next 2-player game recommendation is going to be Confusing Lands from NB Board and Games. This is kind of like the Holiday Hijinks, only 18 cards, which you're going to draft between the 2 players and then build a growing landscape where your cards you play have to overlap another card already in play. And each card's 2-sided. On one side, it's just got different land features. On the other side, it'll have some land features, but also a way to score. The interesting part about this, though, is every scoring card you play costs you 10 points. So you better make sure when you play it, you're going to make up those points. It's actually a really solid game that just gets better and better the more you and your opponent get to know the cards. So, because when you're drafting that few cards, like you are handing your opponent a card every turn, you know what's going to be in their hand. It is a really fascinating game that I found I enjoy more and more the more I play it. And now there's actually a new version of this game called Confusing Lands Icebound Isles. Now, we actually brought a copy of this home from Origins, and I haven't tried it yet, but one of the things I did do was read the rules. And what was cool is we're talking about two-player games now, but with both sets, you can combine it for a longer two-player experience, or you can play 3 or 4 players, which I think is really cool.
So also from Envyborn, I want to recommend Sirens. And both Sirens and Confusing Lands are part of their tiny game series, and they come in these wee little boxes, but get them out of the box. They're only 18 cards. They're so small. You can fit them anywhere. Sirens is also drafting. You're passing your hand of cards between 2 players, but in this case, you are making a siren song. And the first to lure 2 boats over onto the rocks wins. Or you can play solo and challenge Orpheus, but only do that if you're a sucker for punishment,
Yes.
because that solo mode is hard, guys. It's hard.
We have not beat Orpheus. Like, honestly, there's an entire trip for you. Maybe we have to go to like BC on the train, and maybe one time out of the whole trip.
Dedicate my
The
entire
whole
trip
trip
to I'm
to
going to
defeating
beat
Orpheus.
Orpheus.
All right, next one I'm going to recommend is Tag Team from Scorpion Masqué. This one, I need to test it, so I haven't tested it, but the character cards are kind of big. They're like longer than tarot size, but I think they'd easily fit on a train table, especially if you have 2 of them, like your table and my table, and I have all my stuff on one table and all your stuff on another.
Work with 2 tables. You don't have to put that much stuff.
Yeah, like you don't put much out because all there is otherwise is your hand of cards, right? And then you got a bunch of tokens and stuff, but you can leave those in a box or again, toss them in a Tupperware container and not bring the oversized box, especially if you cut it down to just your favorite teams. So this is a 2-player card-driven auto battler where players decide between very asymmetric characters, and you just battle until one of your 2 characters is knocked out. You start with just 2 cards in play, but every round you're going to add another card into a never shuffled deck. I adore Tag Team. I'm kind of addicted to this game.
All right, well, now let's move on to when you are traveling with a group, either a group of friends, family, or hey, maybe you're that outgoing person who actually talks to strangers.
Yes. Oh, we've been on enough, like you've been on like media trips and whatever, where you end up put together with strangers.
You talk to strangers.
I talk to strangers.
Then you force me to play with strangers.
Yeah.
I know what happens.
So I'm going to start out, and this is just to tie into something we're talking about later, but All Play is a board game publisher and distributor who releases their games in very distinct size boxes. And just last year, in 2025, they released a new series of what they're calling the tiny box games, which honestly are perfect for travel. Like these things are barely larger than a deck of cards, like a standard, bicycle deck, just barely larger. It includes all kinds of different styles of games, push your luck game like Mountain Goats, Rainbow, Vivo, Panda, and so on. Now, the game from this series we've been enjoying the most so far is 3 Witches. This is a 3-player only trick-taking game that we've heard people compare to Going Alone in Euchre, but to me, it's much more than that. It's a boasting, bluffing game where you're trying to bid how many tricks you'll take, with the highest bid becoming the lead witch, who then has to play against the other 2 players who are teaming up against them. It has a very unique deck with distinct suits and card values and interesting rules, which if you want to hear about all of that, stay tuned because we're going to review this one at the end of the show.
I've played Mountain Goats. We don't own it, but it's in a slightly larger box. It's still very travel friendly, but it's not one of the tiny boxes.
Okay. I thought that was Mountain Goats Legacy versus Mountain Goats.
No.
Okay. Oh, it's listed as one of their tiny games on their website.
It's not tiny in the way that 3 Witches is tiny. I will leave it at that.
All right, well, I've got Hanabi. So this is a nice, easy game where you're just putting cards down in order, right? Well, yes, but you can't see your own cards. So this one is kind of important that you're all facing each other. So you can't really play like if you're 2 rows of seats in an airplane, you couldn't do it. But if you've got 4 seats on a train, 2 facing each other, sets facing each other, this could be great. You can't see your own cards, but everybody else can. And of course, communication is limited. This is a great game that doesn't take up a lot of space. It's just cards and a few tokens, but it might annoy those around you when you start getting loud as this game progresses because you're almost guaranteed to start getting loud.
Next up, we have the Clever series of games, of which we own Clever Forever. And really, it's just a set of dice and a score sheet for each player. Once you ditch the box, this series of roll and write games barely takes up any room. Oh, but do remember to pack pencils.
Yeah, this is a really neat series of games, and they all use a certain unique mechanism for drafting the dice, and then each different colored dice you fill in a different area. They're highly well regarded. I think they're all by Wolfgang Warsch, and I recommend any of them. Like Clever Forever tends to be one of the kind of more complicated ones, but every one I played has been good. Speaking of dice, though, if you bring up Clever Forever, I have to bring up a game that comes with 100 dice in it. And that is Panda Royale. And I was thinking about, we were just playing this the other day, and the game really doesn't take up a lot of room. You start off with a single yellow initiative die. Every round, you're rolling all your dice, you're adding up the total with each different die type scoring differently. After you total your round, you're all going to draft one new die, and you repeat that for 10 rounds. At the end of 10 rounds, whoever has the most points. Well, we just played the expansion, actually, and I really liked what the expansion added to the game. Now, the only problem with this is if you're playing on a plastic tray on anywhere in public, and you got, up to 9 people rolling dice, you're probably going to annoy your neighbors. So you might want to bring some kind of padded dice tray, maybe take turns rolling, or have everyone have their own dice tray. I do worry about the clatter of dice with this one, but this is a good one where everyone kind of does their own thing. Like, especially if you roll the dice to buy, you could even be sitting apart and hand the dice that are able to be drafted around.
True, but like, what kind of seating configuration are you thinking of that you're getting 9 people playing together in a?
You got 2 rows on a plane.
3 rows on a plane. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only problem with playing rows on a plane is trying to decide who you're going to steal from if you've got a clear dice.
The white dice.
The white dice.
Maybe you take the white dice out.
All right. Well,
I wouldn't see playing 9 people anyway, but I think it's possible.
I'm just trying to visualize this.
But I was also thinking about we were talking about how in this section, it might be with strangers. This is a great game to play with people who aren't hobby gamers or are new to gaming. Everyone's played Yahtzee, or at least know the general gist. You're going to roll dice and write stuff down. It's like simpler than a rolling right because people want to add the dice up, and that's going to happen. And like, this is just one of those good icebreaker, casual play while you're talking kind of games.
All right. Well, for another pretty casual game, I've got Sushi Go Party. This is the party version of the game that's a little bit bigger than the original, but it's still less in its box, less than half a sheet of paper and only about 3 inches thick. Now, with that larger size, though, you get a lot more replayability, meaning no matter how long your trip is, you're still going to be able to play without the game getting tired from sameness, as well as being able to include double the number of players of this sushi sampling set collection game.
And the same thing for this applies for Panda Royale. If you happen to be traveling with strangers, this is a good break the ice, easy game. Heck, we've been in hotels where there's copies of Sushi Go Party or regular just sitting in the room, and it's great for that. My last suggestion in this category is Trio from Happy Camper. Happy, not Hampy. I don't know what Happy Camper is. That's like Peanut Hamper's brother. Trio from Happy Camper, originally known as Nana in Japan. This is a super simple card game about forming sets of 3 by revealing cards from the middle of the table, face down, kind of like memory, and the other player's hands, with the trick being when you point at a player, they have to reveal either their highest or lowest card, what you ask. And all it is the first to make a certain number of sets. Now, I included this one specifically because this is one of those, anyone can play this game, pretty much any age limit, any amount of experience with games or none at all. I think this is a great one if you happen to be sharing seats with 3 other people, say, who are sitting next to each other, where you can just put the cards out on a center table.
All right. Well, one last set of games that we want to talk about are games that are specifically designed for travel.
I'm going with Travel Quirkle from Mindware. Now, Quirkle is, I think, now a classic game at this point. It's a classic game of matching shapes and colors. It's fun. It's super accessible for gamers of all experience levels. This is the travel edition, and I honestly think this is the only version of Quirkle that should exist. It is superior in all ways to the original printing. Now, the original game can take up quite a bit of room when you're playing it, but the pieces here are just a little bit smaller, and they're still really easy to see from across the table. So you got tinier pieces, smaller footprint, and it even comes in a zip-up bag instead of a box. Travel Quirkle is the best Quirkle.
All right. Well, we were talking recently on the Discord about Azul. Well, how about Azul Mini? It's everything you love about Azul, but smaller. And it includes plastic trays, which are great if you happen to be playing on the train or airplanes with turbulence. It solves that components going flying problem.
Yeah. Yeah, Azul Mini may be better than Azul 2. I haven't played that one to know how tiny they are. As long as they're easy enough to manipulate, I'm all for it. Now I'm going to call it Catan Traveler. Technically, the version we have is Catan Travel Edition, and this is different. The new Catan Traveler comes in a box that's shaped like half a hexagon, and that's because the board folds out. Like the entire box is the game, and it's got a handle, and then it opens up to be your full Catan grid. It's a plastic board with holes in it, and all the pieces are pegged, so they're going to stay in place no matter your wind or turbulence. It also even has variable board setup, so it's not like you're always stuck playing on the same map. It's more like the Family Edition, where it's multiple hexes together that you can rearrange. You're getting the full Catan experience here, but in smaller form that is super portable. There's drawers to hold the components, and even the card holder is like held down, so the cards aren't like, I don't know how to say it. It's pinched so the cards won't blow away. But be aware, there are lots of little tiny roads, cities, and settlements in here that are small plastic and easy to lose. So it's nice that there's card holders and components, but I don't think I'd want to be playing this somewhere that I can't easily access the ground after, like on a plane or train. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, that gets us through our main list. Now, as usual, we've got some honorable mentions, games that we haven't actually played, but we're pretty sure will fit into the category.
So the first I'm going to talk about is Bitewing Games. They actually have a series of travel games. They're called the Bitewing Travel line. What's cool about these is they're in little, they look like little suitcases, and they zip all the way around like a suitcase. You have the game inside, and then they actually have a belt clip, or you could clip them on a little, what do you call that? Carabiner? What's the word?
Carabiner?
Carabiner? Carabiner. There. I'm drawing a blank on words tonight. Carabiner. So you could, I don't know, clip them onto your belt or clip them onto your
keychain or
a keychain, yeah, which I thought was really cool. They're portable. They're meant to be played. Their whatever tagline is games that are able to play anywhere with anyone, because they're supposed to be super entry level. So their first two games were Gazebo and Gingham. Gingham's actually all about a picnic and has little wooden picnic pieces, which I thought was really cute. Those are only the first two. They're up to 8 games in that series now. Next are the Pac-O games from Perplexed. Anyone who's seen these are as thick as an old school pack of gum, which doesn't really apply anymore because gum now comes in like weird plastic containers. But anyone as old as us will recognize them. But they're tiny. They're like the size of your finger. They tend to be card games that are inside, and every single one is named by 3 letters. So there's like Win and Boo and Spy and Orc. I have heard really good things about these games. We saw them once when we were on vacation, and we didn't buy them, and I still regret it to this day.
Yeah. I haven't seen them in the wild in the store again since then. So how about the Button Shy wallet games? Those are well known to be great for travel, and they now have a new line of box micro games that also look like they're worth checking out.
Yeah, and I actually got confused when I was doing my research, because the other ones I immediately thought of were the Mint Tint games. Mm-hmm. Mint Works as being their first one, and they've got a bunch more. And I actually thought those were Button Shy, and I was wrong. They're actually separate from Mint Tint games. And they've got a bunch now, like there's this Mint Works and so on. But what they're really big on right now are these tiny little dexterity games. So again, if you're on the bumpy ride, you don't want these. But as long as you're going somewhere stable, there was Tinder Blocks, and their latest one is Bookshelf, where you're literally building a bookshelf where you're literally build the shelves, but you're also putting books and games on them. And it's super cute. Yeah. There are tweezers with their games. Yes. You build a little tiny bookshelf. And as far as I know, I'm not sure, because Tinder Blocks, you're working together to build a campfire. Bookshelf, I don't know if you're together or separate.
All right. Well, we've had a little bit of interaction with the chat room here. First one I want to address, Ryan says, what about games with dual layer boards? And my gut tells me if you have a game with a dual layer board, it's probably because it takes up a bunch of space. And fitting that into one of these travel areas may be difficult.
Right. So, I mean, the dual layer board helps with the bounce test, but any game I can think of that has a dual layer board is a nice, big, chunky strategy game that needs a 4 to 6 foot table.
So I would say, great if you can find a game that's small and portable enough that has a dual layer board. I agree. I can't think of anything crystallized. Maybe it has that, but that's just like for the scoring things, and it's kind of not really needed.
Nothing's coming to mind.
All right. Well, next up, we've got Ryan saying 7 Wonders, the dice game.
I've not played that one to the effect. I don't even remember hearing about it. I would have to look that up. One of the ones we did not put on the list would be 7 Wonders Duel, or these Seven Wonders, Lord of the Rings, the duel, because those take up way more room than you expect them to. Like that pyramid of cards is not small. And then the Lord of the Ring ones also has like additional boards and trackers and stuff.
Yeah, we even had a hard time getting that on a coffee shop table.
Yeah, we were the first time we played Lord of the Rings at a coffee shop. We are like, oh, or it might have been at Bandit Goose Brewery, but I was like, this is a fairly big table. In this game, we had to condense things a little more than we'd like. So possibly, Red Meeple Ryan says, check out Seven Wonders of the Dice Game if you're looking for travel games.
All right. Well, Roger is saying Skull and Hive are great travel games. Hard to disagree there.
Yeah.
Those are good picks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, Hive Travel, there's a smaller version of Hive. So get the travel Hive Mini, I think it's called. You know why I didn't put Hive on this list? Because it was on the old list about travel games. And anytime we talk about small games, and it's like the cliche, because Hive, you can play it anywhere. And then you take pictures of you playing on a beach and you put it on Board Game Geek and get lots of thumbs up. Hive Pocket. Thank you, Ryan. Sorry, the small one's Hive Pocket. Yeah, Hive's a good one. And then upgrade it with stickers from Levity Games, and then you don't have to bring the rule book, and you don't have to remember how all the pieces move. There's our tip.
Pocket edition pieces are smaller, and do the Levity Games stickers?
No, but it has a separate set of Hive Pocket stickers.
Okay, yes, go do that because they're brilliant.
Levity Games. They honestly, our copy of the game now gets played more because there's now stickers on the back of my pieces that tell you how they move.
Fair enough. Well, Ryan was mentioning dice trays, and I think he was talking about something we had been discussing at the time. But I would say, honestly, if you're traveling and you're a gamer, pack a foldable dice tray. Just keep one because I was thinking afterwards, even 20 strong, they use dice lid. Those box lids can be a little noisy to do sometimes. So if you want to be playing later, a lot of the foldable dice trays tend to be leather or other softer, quieter sounds. So they will at least minimize the sound of that dice rolling.
I wonder if you brought a bunch of those silicone muffin cups to roll into, if that would be a cheap alternative. Because some dice, it depends on the size of the die. Picture dice trays being large.
Even one of those little collapsible silicone bowls would work as a dice tray. Those little bowls with the weird triangular corners.
And then Roger's saying NAR, KNARR, is a compact, but you do need a table to play it on.
Yeah, most of the games we recommended, you do need a table. There are a series, we should have had this in the honorable mentions, there are a series of Palm games. And there's a company that only makes Palm games, Palm Island being their most famous game. And I'm sorry I don't have the publisher, the name of the publisher, but if you look up Palm Island on Board Game Geek, you should be able to see their other games. These are games where you do not need a table, where you literally play in the palms of your hands. Or last episode, we called out that weird wearable game. So I can't see walking up and down the train aisles looking for other people wearing wearable ones. But yeah, the Palm game should be good. And we reviewed one a long time ago, but I looked it up and it's called Oddball Aeronauts. Unfortunately, that game did not survive because I was going to recommend it as a hidden gem that you've never heard of. But unfortunately, that game didn't make it.
There's a reason nobody has heard of it since. Ryan is asking, saying Agricola, all creatures, big and small.
So I'm not putting that on the list just because of the amount of components. Beer and Bread is another one for the same reason. I just worry about there's so many little things plus that. Well, Agricola, all creatures, big and small, smaller than Beer and Bread. Beer and Bread, the board's pretty long.
Yeah.
But it's mainly the amount of little tiny components and moving them and manipulating them. And like in that one, you actually have to stack your like farming resources as you gain them, which is bad for the bumpiness. Plus, just to me, it's overly complicated and thinky when I'm on vacation. I kind of wanted to just relax.
That's entirely separate. I'm all for the overly complicated and thinky. I just need it to work on my table and not fall in between someone else's chair.
Yeah, exactly. I know it could happen with anything, but just in particular, all creatures big and small. We stopped bringing that out to pubs, even in bars, because we were just like, no, it's too easy to lose something.
Roger's saying Vivo is fun.
Yeah, that's one of the small box all play games. We do have a copy of that, actually. We just haven't played. That was the other game we brought home from the lunch we went to at Game Expo.
All right, and we're wrapping up with Ryan saying Wealth of Nations.
I think that might be in regards to the dual air board. That might be a small game that uses a dual air board. That is not one I played.
All right. Well, final thing to consider, you don't actually need any room at all, really. No table, don't have to worry about bumpy rides, weather, or wind if you have digital copies of your favorite games and probably in most cases these days an internet connection or roaming ability.
Yes, there's something Deanna can talk about is not necessarily having internet access on your extended travel.
That's true. Yeah, if you're traveling on Via Rail, once you get out of the Quebec-Windsor corridor, there is no internet.
So like that. Honestly, that's how we play most games when we're actually traveling. Pass and play games of Star Realms and Ascension are extremely common. With our family, as our Patchwork is one of my favorites. Point Salad is really well done on the app version of the game, and I'm addicted to Tokaido because it's so cute. Like it's like extra zen because you see your little guy walking and everything's animated, and like the waters in the pool are flowing. There are some fantastic digital versions of board games that honestly, I can pack way more games in this than I can in my carry-on.
And if you have internet access, there's always Board Game Arena as well.
Yes, that's true.
Now, Dee, when you're saying that, is that even in like business class where they offer you Wi-Fi?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So when I went on the sleeper train overnight to Nova Scotia, once you get out past Montreal, there is no internet.
Yeah, from what I know, it's satellite internet normally, and I guess there's no satellite service out there.
I would be able to catch it on my phone, hit and miss, and it would come and go. But there was no internet being provided by the train on the train. And once you do if you do the cross Canada one that I've always wanted to do, again, once you get past Montreal, no internet.
Interesting. I would not have guessed that because that satellite coverage is satellite coverage. All right. Well, now, folks, a call to action. What did we miss? What games would you recommend to Victor as great games for traveling on your trips?
Let us know by leaving a comment or a reply, send us an email, or best of all, post something over on the Tabletop Bellhop Discord.
Welcome to the Bellhop's Tabletop, where we talk about the games we've been playing lately.
And thinking about what we've been playing lately reminded me that we were just talking about games to play while traveling, and I forgot to mention the one that I played while traveling with our kid this week, it was her choice. It was her birthday, so I let her pick the game, and we went with Oshi Push. So we just have 2 starter decks, and which we did receive as review copies from Japanime Games, I should say. And we brought that. I repackaged it. We brought it on the train. We played it. It's good. It's really good. I super enjoyed it. It was tight. Our games were really close. When I played it, I had the immediate effect of I wanted to play it again, but nothing about it made me want to go out and get cards or customize a deck. And that's weird because the reason I have been avoiding TCGs is because I find them highly addictive and always want to buy all the cards. Like Disney Lorcana, I had to get rid of because it made me itchy, okay? Like, it makes me want to go out and spend lots and lots of money anytime I touch a CCG. And this game, I was just like, these are nice, balanced decks. They play fun against each other. We're good right here. Why would I want more cards?
So for anyone who didn't catch our last episode where I talked about playing this with Gwen at Origins, this is a anime-inspired VTuber game where you are trying to be the first one to get to 1 million followers, producing content on different platforms, and there's 3 platforms up at a time. And it reminded me of the Wise Wizard game Sorcerer. Does it remind you of Sorcerer at all?
Yeah, it did remind me of that a bit.
Like with your content would be your monsters.
Except, again, in Sorcerer, there's that whole thing where you're mashing up the decks, and that's very key to the gameplay for me. So you have to take all that out of it.
Well, just the gameplay, the vibe of the game, what it felt like when I was playing reminded me of Sorcerer. All right, one game we're actually ready to review. We played it so much since bringing it home from Origins, which is kind of ridiculous because like we never get a game and like 1 week later are ready to review it. But we love Grandpa Beck's games, and we met up with Grandpa Beck, and Christopher from Grandpa Beck was really cool to give us a pre-release copy of The Ticket Booth, which is their latest game, which I think is coming out at Gen Con.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to say it right now. If you go to Grandpa Beck Games' website, you can pre-order this. And if you use code BELLHOP, you save 15%. And you probably want to do that if you like.
I'll save you a step. Just go buy it now.
Yeah, it's like just go order it. That's what I'm saying. Like, before we get to the full review, I was going to review this one tonight, but it didn't fit with my topic as well. Though honestly, it wouldn't be a terrible travel game, but you do have to make a ring of cards. Anyway, this is a drafting card game where you're putting out 5 2-card markets. So you're making a ring of markets. Each market has 2 cards. There's a meeple to represent, I don't know, it's like the hawker or whatever, because the theme is carnival, and you got tickets. And what happens is you're going to take one of the sets, and you take the set to the clockwise from the meeple. It's free. But if you want the set after that, you have to put a ticket on the one you don't want. You can go all the way around, putting a max of 4 tickets out to take this set you're on. And that reminded me of no thanks, right? Because you're like, no, I don't want that set. I don't want that set. I don't want that set. So I'm using my tickets. But if you have no tickets left, you're going to be forced to take that next set. Now, you're just doing this to collect sets of cards. So there are no, Sean caught this, and Deanna and I totally missed it when we played. There are no odd numbered cards in the game. It's all even. So there's 2s, 4s, 6s, 8s, and 10s. And then there's a variable number of these, and I'm not going to get into the details. What it is whoever has the majority of each set is going to get the points equal to the numbers of the set. So if you've got a set of 6s and you have the most 6s, you're going to get 6 points. If you manage to collect all the cards in a set, like you get all of the 6s, you're going to double it and score 12 points.
So there's one set of 10s, one set of 2s, and there's 3 4s, 3 6s, and 3 8s. So there's an 8 that has a prize winning cow on it. There's an 8 with a Bronco rodeo thing, and there's an 8 with a petting zoo. And each of those is a different set.
Yeah.
Those 3 8s don't combine. They're 3 different sets.
And then added to that, there's some special cards. There's Porta-Johns, which you don't want to collect unless you collect all of them. There's a thing that lets you collect all the tickets in play. You also get points for how many tickets you have left at the end, and there's cards that modify that. So you get extra points if you have the most, or there's another one where it doesn't matter how many tickets you have, you just get straight points. None of that really matters. The point is, this is just really solid, good, and easy to learn. It's just really simple. There's cards, you draft them. It's all about sitting there, paying attention to what the other players are collecting, watching for who's got the most of everything, trying to set up ties, because you're literally trying to force two of your opponents to tie, because then they both get half the points. There's some really neat stuff going around.
Can tie.
Yeah, all 3 or more. Yeah, you could have, I think it plays up to 5. You could have 5 people tie on 10s if you each had 2 each, which is why there's no odd numbers in the deck. It's really solid game. Honestly, go buy it. If you like those family weight light card games, you can play with gamers and non-gamers, games where you can talk while you're playing. Ticket Booth is just another one. Grandpa Beck continues to just nail it with these accessible, easy to learn, enjoyable card games.
And of all the Grandpa Beck's games that we've played, this is the one I've enjoyed the most. So I really dig it.
Sean, you have anything to say on Ticket Booth? You played it.
Hey, it was fun. I don't know. I've only really played it once, so I hate to comment deeper than that. But no, it was an enjoyable, quick, fun table game.
Yep. Next, Kokeshi from Grand Gamers Guild. That's one right above my head here. I'm going to try to keep this succinct. So it's based on the art of creating and painting wooden Japanese dolls, which is part of Japanese culture, that are popular gifts for children. You are a person creating Kokeshi, and you are trying to increase your experience level and your skill at making these. This is represented by a track for every style of Kokeshi, and they're very thematic. There's a samurai, an old lady, and that's the proper term, whatever, a grandma. Princess, a sumo, and farmer, I think, are the different types. And those are the core types. But those are the most popular. But the way you make money, though, tends to be painting animals. So you're trying to go up on tracks for the animals. Well, each turn drafting a tile that represents a new experience level with a Kokeshi, and you choose which column to put that in. And then you're moving your Kokeshis up and then activating the tiles. And every tile does one or two things, and many of them move up a different Kokeshi. So it's this combo building game where you're trying to build this engine where you're I move this Kokeshi, which then moves this one, which lets me draft the tile, which then lets me move this one. And then when I move this one moves up. And then this one comes and it gets to the top of the tile. So it goes to the bottom, which lets me draft a new tile. You have to kind of see it to get it.
Yeah, you have to imagine that there's 5 columns, one for each type of doll that he just described, a samurai column and a granny column and a farmer column. And you're putting these little acrylic tiles there, and each of them have a power on them. And you go up the column and trigger each tile when you get to the top, you fall back down to the bottom, and that allows you to add new tile to that column. And then you are also scoring by how far up your towers get. And then there's another track that you're triggering where you're also painting animals, but it's off on a different board. And you score points for how far you get on the animal track.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of a point salad because you're getting points for how high your columns are. how full your rows are, how far you are on the animal tracks.
Yeah.
There's
and
a
those
lot-
bonus tiles.
There's a lot to think about in this game. And again, this is one I've only played once, and I don't feel like I have any idea whether what I did was right. And
Yes.
I just didn't play as well as you guys, or if I went down completely the wrong path and will never possibly win doing that, because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's neat though. Like it's know what I like is it sticks out. It's unique. Nothing else I own feels like Kokeshi.
I dig it. I think what I liked about it was, and I have only played it once. Most played it more than once. What I liked about it was when I got the overview, and Mark showed me this game when I was at Gamma Expo. I was like, okay, that looks cool. I think I'm going to dig it. And I sat down and played it, and it played exactly like I thought it was going to play. It did everything I thought it was going to do.
Mhm.
It did not throw me any surprises. And I was like, yep, that's what I wanted from that. Perfect. Bang on.
All right, next, a long-awaited game from Japan that's Trickerous. Originally discovered at the Tokyo Game Show, Kurt from Smirk and Dagger Games has localized us and localized it and hooked us up with a review copy. This is a trick-taking game with double-sided cards, as in up and down. Like the backs are all the same, but like flippable cards. Now I can say think done up, and people probably know what I'm talking about. Where every card adds up to 10 except for the zeros. Or is it the 10s? Are they 0 and 10 on each side? Anyway, in general, your cards add up to 10. So, and there's 4 suits, and they're always paired in a certain way. So it's always suns with moons or nights with days, and it's always clouds with rain or overcast with rainy. And if you have a 6 on one side, it'll be 4 on the other. So you'd have a 4 of suns and a 6 of moon. Or if you had an 8 of moon, you would have a 2 of sun on the other side. Standard trick-taking rules of must follow apply. So you're playing a card, someone's leading a card, everyone has to follow. There are 2 trump suits in the basic game. You either have the suns or the moons, and it starts off with the suns as trump. So one of the 4 suits is trump. But the trick is you're just playing standard trick-taking, getting points. If anyone plays a 5, all your cards flip, because a 5 would be the same number on both sides. So all of a sudden, all your sun cards become moon cards, and all your moon cards become sun cards, and all your clouds become rain, and the other way around. And again, I think it's the 10s actually swap suits, so it changes it to the other type. And that happens mid-trick, so that's very interesting. So in the middle of a trick, you're literally going to turn around the cards that have been played. Now, the other funky thing going on in this game is you're scoring on a score track that goes from 0 to 10, I'll say, but like it only goes 1 to 9 because 10 is the sun. And the theme is you're Icarus people. You've developed wings, and they'll melt if you get too close to the sun. So when you get points, you just go up the track, and if anyone's in your way, you jump over them. But the first player to get to 10 or go past 9 into the sun falls to the bottom of the stack of players.
It's not just the first player. Every time anyone gets up to
when
the
top,
yes.
the first player hits, they fall to the bottom. Then you finish out the round, and then you rank based on where everyone plays. And yes, if anyone else hits a sun, they also fall down. It's brilliant. It's extremely well done. It's really engaging. It's puzzly. It's everything I like in a trick taker.
That you want to be first, but you don't want to be too first. You sort of actually want to be second, unless you want to be first. And also the things swapping mid-hand.
Yeah, the swapping mid-hand is fascinating. Now, one thing Smirk and Dagger has done is he has changed the rules from the original Japanese just a little bit. In the basic game, there's no lightning bolt anymore. But what he has added is a cloudy weather variant, which now adds a new chip that goes in the middle. So someone can play a lightning card in the middle of a trick, and it gets swapped out for a card that was not in play. Then you swap the chip out. Now either rain or clouds will be trump. Otherwise, the game plays the same. It's just this way, as Kurt worded it, there's no wasted suits.
And just to clarify, there are no 10s in this game at all. Zeros are 0 both sides, and 5s are where you swap from day to night. So
I knew there was something funky with the 10 or the 0 or something.
Oh, this is what happens when we play a game like 1.5 times and give our first thoughts.
Well, yeah, exactly. This is why we play them multiple times before we do a final review. I can't see our thoughts changing on this one anyway negatively.
It's just so darn good.
It's so darn good. What I got to figure out is if I prefer the original rules or Kurt's variation. Right now, I like the original. I like that only 2 suits can be because this is a game where you want a bad suit to throw off so you don't get points. Right. Because sometimes you don't want to win every trick. Well, you really don't want to win every trick in this game.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I was definitely sorry, Kurt. I prefer the original rules.
Maybe with more plays, I'll decide I like it both ways. The awesome part is both variations are in the same box, so play whichever way you prefer. Next up, Crabs in a Bucket, a game we originally saw as part of the Gamma Horizons Fellowship. We've talked about this many times on the show. It is an awesome program for underrepresented game designers to get their games to the public. What was awesome to see is this is one of them. I didn't write down the publisher of this right now.
Blue Rondo.
Thank you. Blue Rondo Games. What was cool to see is they were there selling their game at Origins, but not part of the Horizon Fellowship anymore.
Well, yeah, because
they just got a booth.
They're from a few years back now.
Yeah, yeah.
Might have been the first cohort of Horizon Fellows that we saw.
I think it was the first we ever met. Yes, which makes me wonder. I wonder what happened with the dolphin game with the bubbles.
I don't know. I could probably look into it.
I want to look into that. Anyway, Crabs in the Bucket to me is Crazy Eights with ridiculous powers. So it's a standard deck of cards, but the different suits have different colors. So you can tell like it's not just black and red. There's 4 different colors, but it's still hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs. It's an Udo style hand cheddar where there's a discard pile. You have to match either the suit or the number to play your card.
And then like all the 10s are dual colored.
The other wonky thing is the 10s actually have 2 suits each. And if you can't play, you draw. If you can play what you just draw, you play it. The first person to be out of cards wins. So that part's pretty standard for that style of game. But now we're going to throw in, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of special cards. It's like
half the deck is special
cards.
I don't
know, maybe a third of the deck. I think it's about a third of the deck are crabs. Every crab is a joker that breaks the rules in some way, doing hilarious, ridiculous things. It's very much a take that, ha ha ha, look and see what happens, highly random. A bunch of crabs in a bucket fighting against each other.
It's a chat and have beers game.
Yeah.
And it's 22 of the 52 cards are crabs.
Is that 1/3?
So 46%.
46. So not more than a third, but less than a half.
I said half.
Between the two of us. Yeah. It's silly, random fun. Don't go in expecting like a trick-taking game or a hand-shedding high strategy game here or high tactics.
You know what? It's not programmed. Like, you don't just get your hand and go, oh, well, this is what I play. This is what I play. You do have choices. So I feel like, there is some player agency there, which is why I can stand the game.
The one thing I will say about the game is it does appear to play much better at the higher player counts.
Yes,
we've seen a number of people at smaller player counts like burn through the game and it's like, it's over. It's done. I won. I found this thing and I did this thing and it's all done now. Stop giving me all the points. So
yeah, for people who like chaotic games, like honestly, I think every Flux fan should check this out because everything I don't like about Flux, I don't like in Crabs in a Bucket. So I have a feeling that the two are very similar.
Gwen really dug it. I think it's going to be popular with her friend group.
All right, next one, Brave and Bold, the DC bag builder that I feel like we talk about every episode lately. We tried out Gwen played for the first time. She loved this game. Like I feel I kind of have been ambassadoring for this game. She liked it more than I did.
I was amused because we were playing at one of our public play events and there weren't a whole ton of people there. So you guys were free a lot to sit and play. But we were done. It got to be 4:00 and we were done. And you're like, I'm not done. We're finishing out this game. Gwen was like, there's no way we're packing this up.
So yeah, we tried Cheetah versus Flash. It was very interesting to see how different they played versus Superman and Lex, because Sean and I have played Superman and Lex many times. You and I have played Superman and Lex. You and I have played Superman and Batman. Cheetah and Flash, totally different strategies required than the others, which I think is awesome. Like, that's what you want for a game like this. You want the asymmetric characters to feel very...
And we have had a pause here. We'll wait for them to rejoin us shortly. And so, yeah, you guys locked up there.
Yeah, actually, I got kicked out of the chat.
Yeah, so. I guess wiring it didn't make a difference.
And we're out again.
Well, that's the first time. That's the first time you've had even a glitch. So it's definitely been better overall. We're like an hour and a half, or an hour plus in, and that was the first time you've had any glitches whatsoever. So
yeah.
Oh, but now you're frozen again. You just froze again though. So wow,
we're having problems right now.
Who's downloading movies? Who's downloading movies?
That's what I'm thinking upstairs. Is like your mom is upstairs doing something goofy, and it works better seasonally when she has cards.
Yeah.
I mean, you are going to be rich in Bitcoin once all that mining gets done.
Yeah, it'd be nice if that's what she was doing.
No.
I'm getting an error from Teams.
Temu is going to be rich.
Teams has apparently crashed. Sorry, we run into an issue. but I'm hearing you, so obviously we're working.
Yeah, I'm seeing you guys right now, so we're seeing
Well,
and hearing.
that's weird.
Scared to even hit.
Yeah, because
the
like Teams
retry
right
button.
now is
I should show you a screen cap. It's like you should hit retry. No,
apparently Teams isn't running anymore.
Yeah, you're still getting.
I hear you and you see us, so
I'm just worried. What's gonna?
All right,
do you need to go check upstairs?
Do you want me to go check in with everyone? See if I can.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we played some more Brave and Bold. That's the DC Comics Justice League, whatever you want to call it, bag building game from Resurrection Games. Played it with Gwendolyn at one of our events, and holy cow, Gwen loved this game. Like, she was bonkers over this thing.
Yeah, it amused me because we were playing at one of our public play events because we didn't have a ton of people, so you had time to sit and play. And it got to be the end of the night. We should be packing up to go. And you were both, well, especially Gwen was like, no, we're not leaving. We're finishing out this game.
Yeah, and she was getting annoyed because I had to cut, like, there was a group playing Rowdy Partners, and there was a group playing Twisted Trumpets. And I'm like, I got them all started and going, but like the questions came up and she was getting annoyed every time I had to go answer a question.
I came over and said, hey, can you come help teach this? And the look she gave me, like she did not want this game to be stopped or interrupted. She was invested.
So yeah, in the past, we played Batman versus Supes. We tried, but like didn't play a full game. Sean and I have played Superman versus Lex Luthor. You and I have done Superman versus Lex Luthor. I've taught many strangers Superman versus Lex Luthor, but this is our first time trying not the characters from that set, from the giant box, which Resurrection hooked us up with. Thank you for that. It's awesome. I should mention before this, we had a punching party where Gwen and I, maybe that's why she was so invested, because she helped me punch the entire giant box, which we got good at it. Like, now, once you memorize what tokens go in the what bag and everything, like we had it down to an assembly line. I can now punch a character for that game in under 5 minutes. It's like pop, 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 pop. So anyway, tried Cheetah versus Flash. Very different. Very different asymmetric powers and very different from Supes and Lex and Batman. And I think that's awesome because a game like this, that's what it needs. Like, every character needs to feel distinct, play differently, requires a different play style, and that's awesome. It's what I love about Dice Throne. It's what I like about this style of game, or even going to like the Disney Sorcerer's Arena characters.
Yeah, I want it to be asymmetric as all heck.
Great. I want it super different. So Cheetah is all about, Gwen called it blood, but I think they're called hunt tokens. But it's managing their blood level, where if they get too full, they end up with extra crisis tokens. And if they're too low, they don't get to do stuff. Heals ridiculously. Man, I had a hard time with that. I felt like I needed someone other than Flash that was a bit more of a heavy hitter just to keep Cheetah damaged. Because, man, does Cheetah heal.
Are you saying you lost?
Oh, yeah, badly. Like it wasn't even close, to be honest. My problem, though, is Flash is all about tapping into the Speed Force and slowly building up. But one of the things you can do is you can spend your Speed Force powers to do really good stuff, like put crisis tokens back, which is huge in this game. So it's really hard to want to save, like you want to save them up, but they're so useful. And I think I balanced that badly. Plus, I played bad that I didn't realize the only way to get new Speed Force tokens was to buy them during the power-up phase. Like, I don't know where else I thought they were going to come from, but like Lex Luthor gets his relic tokens by activating a certain power. Superman, do you have to buy the Sun tokens? I haven't played Supes myself, or can you earn them some other way?
You can earn things from over here, but then they come in for one round and go away.
Yeah, you buy them or you get them temporarily only.
But yeah. Well, the characters I had played before didn't require you to buy tokens, like your special tokens. But there are ways you can earn them. So yeah, so it was just different. I should have bought more Speed Force tokens. But the important thing was that it was just, again, the game's fun, it's enjoyable, and I loved how different the characters felt. It felt like a very different game than playing Lex Luthor versus Superman. And holy cow, did I like the Flash's cards. I'm like, I kind of want to steal his cards to use with someone else, or I just always want to play against the Flash, so those cards are in. I really dig those. The other thing, I'm going to give a shout out to Resurrection Games. They sent me an early copy of the FAQ. It is really good. It is well needed, unfortunately, but it is a solid document with lots in it. I went through the whole thing, and it actually answered every question I currently had about the game minus a couple little minor things. And then they were awesome because I sent those minor things and they're already in the latest version.
I'm going to nix that because you said unfortunately. And again, I argue this style of game is going to need an FAQ. And it's just part of that style of game. There's nothing unfortunate about it.
Well, what's unfortunate, some of that I felt should have been on the character boards. Okay. It shouldn't have needed an FAQ. And yes, they still need more icons. Still consider it for future characters. Yeah, still taking the game. It's coming out at Gen Con. There's like some kind of tournament they're doing where it's like $90 to be in the tournament, and you get to bring home the set, which is lower than the MSRP. So if anything we've said about this game sounds good, like sign up for that event at Gen Con. Opposite end of the complexity scale, I was very happy to take home from Origins a copy of Tumbling Dice. My friend Jamie has a copy of this that it's been so long out of print or expensive online because it was imported that he had a woodworker make him a copy. Tumbling Dice is a dexterity game where you have 4 sets of dice. You have this tiered board where it kind of goes out in like an arc. And then at the bottom are these little spots. There's like 3 spots that are worth 4 times. And all you are literally doing is you are tumbling your dice down. I tumble a die, you tumble a die, Sean tumbles a die. You keep going around till you played all your dice. And then you just multiply the pips by the spot you're on. Whoever has the most points wins. You play 4 rounds. It is so much fun. I don't understand why this game is so much fun, but it's one of those dexterity games where people look at it and go, come on, how can this be fun? But like, it's the knocking other people off and aiming for dice, or if you roll a 1, trying to hit your own die so it tumbles and gets a better points. And there's just more going on than it feels like, and it's not just rolling dice down a hill. Plus, I love the rules that there's no rule for doing it. Like you can flick your die, you can bounce it, you can slide it. Heck, at one of our events, I blew on one of my dice to blow it down the hill just to kind of show you can do everything, and I dig that.
You're making it sound so good, I almost want to try it.
Sean's played. I got Sean to play it so he could at least teach it if anyone else came up. I don't know. It's silly fun.
If you like dexterity games the way Mo likes dexterity games, you're probably going to love this game. If you don't, it's just another dexterity game. It's interesting. It does some fun things that others don't, but it's still a dexterity game.
Next, Ice and Idols. Deanna and Sean can't talk about this one because I played it with the kids when we were celebrating Father's Day. This is a, I hate using the term overproduced, but like you get the idea by calling it overproduced because I don't think it's overproduced, but it's toyetic. It is a very physical game from our friends at Inside Up Games, Canadian publisher, with lots of plastic. So the first part of this game is a board you put out on the table that has a grid on it that shows altars and then idols. And there's so many idols and so many altars, and like the green idol needs to get to the green altar. And I couldn't tell you the distribution, but some of them, there were 2 idols, all of them only had 1 altar, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a grid. On top of that, you put this big plastic thing that you attach some cardboard around the edges on, and then you layer 3-dimensional tiles on top of it that form pathways.
And
think kind of Suro. Yeah, think Suro, but these are all see-through and they look like ice. And what you're doing in this game is you are looking top down through the tiles to see the board underneath. And the whole thing's a lazy Susan, and there are actions that can turn the board 90 degrees. So it's this really abstract, unique game where your characters are meeples that start in the beginning. It's an action point system where generally you spend 1 point to move 1 spot. You have to follow the path where you're trying to pick up these idols and deliver them to their altars. And it's got that 2-layer board that's brilliantly designed, and there's little icon, like cardboard pieces for the idols, and they have hand spots, and like the idols, all the different types fit, which I just thought was really cool. Plus, you have a spot at the beginning for all the idols, and when you get an idol to its altar, you either unlock a new power, which gives you a new way to spend your action points, or unlocks things, or you can just research it, which gives you points on a track. The track is kind of an area majority thing where you're going to get points based on how many of the different idols. There's ways to manipulate their values. Again, I don't want to do a full teach here. The powers you unlock are going to start letting you turn and slide the tiles to rearrange the map. They're going to let you turn the board. It's kind of a race to get things. You can unlock it so you can hold 2 idols at once. You can unlock additional action points. It's just really well done, really unique game. The only problem being is you basically have to stand up to play to be able to look through the tiles to see the board underneath.
The table presence on this game is mighty. Like I came by to make a coffee and I looked in and I went, what the heck? It's gorgeous. Like even it's got these dual layer player boards, and they're not even like boring rectangles. They're like cut into neat shapes.
Yeah.
And everything's bright and colorful, and it's just pretty. And the translucent ice thing is really neat looking. I haven't actually played it. I don't know if it's going to drive me batty visually, and if I'm going to be able to handle it or not. And I get that you have to stand up and look down at the game, but I can work around that. It's just so cool looking.
It'll be interesting to see the more we get played, because I'm seeing some real suggestions that its sweet spot is really kind of at 2 players. And the 3 and 4 player game gets a little bit too chaotic for a lot of people's tastes. So
I have no idea. I played once with 3 people at this point. This is why we play things multiple times where we share our final thoughts. I want you both to try this game. Like, it's just cool. Next up, some disclosure. Everything else we've talked about tonight, not everything. So far, have been review copies we've gotten copies of from publishers. This one's not. Next up is The Mandalorian Adventures from Corey Knizia. It looks like a Fantasy Flight game box because, well, Corey Knizia worked for Fantasy Flight for years and is the man behind, Descent and Star Wars Imperial Assault and these big box Amerithrashy adventure games with strong Euro elements.
And we found it on sale and you bought it back.
Yes, I bought this game. I paid cash for this game. Found it on sale for a very good price. I actually thought it was a Fantasy Flight game and didn't even realize till I unboxed it that it's Corey's new company. And again, I forgot to note who the publisher was here. Sean, I'll probably look it up while I'm talking. So this is you playing through The Mandalorian Season 1, direct port. Like you are literally playing through the first series. You're hired a contract to go pick up an asset. You go and you have to get the asset. The asset is, of course, guarded by all kinds of mercenaries and baddies. It is a card-driven game, so kind of think Gloomhaven, though don't really. But the interesting thing is there's 4 actions in the game, and the actions are on the map. And the map is done like, speaking of Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, spiral-bound book that lays flat on the table. And the actions are on the board. You have a set of cards. They're numbered like 1 to 4. And you play a card under the action, you do what it is. So if I play a 4 under movement, I get to move 4. If I play a 4 under combat, I get to do 4 damage to someone next to me. And then there's like planning where you can move the enemies or peek at tokens. And then there's another one where you're going to, you can get these cards, these asset cards that are really powerful and get you ways to defend and heal and items. So you're deciding between those things, but then some of your cards have icons on them that match those actions. So while you can use any card to do any action, if you play a matching, you get a bonus, which I thought was really smart. So like if you have to have like, I'm not trying to think of one of the Mandalorian cards was like charge or something like that. Or you had his flamethrower. So if I put the flamethrower under combat, I get to hit everyone in my square and then move 1 square away and stuff like that. It's a really neat system. Now, I'd actually played the Twin Suns expansion of this at Gamma, so I was already sold on that mechanic. The mechanic was great. Now, here's all the caveats, because there's a bunch. The first mission is a 2-player mission. So you either play solo or playing both characters, or you play with someone else. You are playing IG-11 and Mandalorian. For anyone who knows the series, you know why you're playing them. So here I have this box game that I expected to play with my 2 kids, but I sort of can't if I want to stick to canon. Now, there is a rule called Sandbox where you can play any number of characters in a mission. And this is one of those games where, depending on the actions you take, the board goes, which I didn't get into at all. But it has to do with the numbers you're playing at the different spots. So it's
balanced, regardless.
So it's balanced. So it worked. So we played 3-player. We happened to have, I liked the series, but I don't remember every character's name, but there was a Twi'lek. The Twi'lek was in our group. So we had IG-11, Mandalorian, whoever the Twi'lek is. And it worked fine. Like, it worked perfectly fine. Then you unlock things and you unlock a new mission and you get new rules, and it's all through this deck of cards. So, of course, spoiler for the Mandalorian, he finds Baby Yoda. That's the asset. He doesn't want to turn in Baby Yoda because it's Baby Yoda and it's cute. So then the next mission, though, is not 2 players. And I was just kind of like, what do you do with this? So I actually immediately went online and started Googling, like, how are people playing this game? Well, it's like, you don't have to play them in order, but you kind of do because you unlock stuff. You don't need the same group. Feel free to have people come in and out. And I'm like, I guess if they're fans of the series, so you're like, look, we're playing this episode. It's just weird for that style of game. And then I found out, like,
you're telling a progressive story. Wouldn't you want to sit in through
from the beginning, right? Exactly. And then later, I know there's a mission where it requires 4 characters. and 4 players and expect you to play with 4 players. And the other part I was a little disappointed by is there's only 4 maps in the entire game. I don't know how many scenarios there are, but I better get more than 4 scenarios in here. And yes, I looked online, there's more than 4. But I was like, there's only 4 maps in the entire game. So mixed thoughts on this one right now. I still say the system, the card system of you have this hand of cards that you play onto actions that are on the board, and you get a bonus if you play a matching one, was really cool. I really like it, and I want to see more games using this. As for the rest, it's going to take more plays. We had fun playing the first mission. It was a pretty typical that style of adventure game of go beat up all the bad guys, do some kind of neat, clever things, try to find the key cards before you can open the door. It was everything I like in Imperial Assault or in, the Descent style games. But just the weird stuff they're doing with trying to stick to canon or not is wonky. And we'll see. 4 maps. Like, I don't know. I have no idea how that's going to go. So the publishing company from that, or Corey's thing, is Unexpected Games. And yeah, Ryan in the chat is pointing out it might be Koneska. I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. I'm sorry, Corey. I'm probably getting that wrong. Next, something we all played. Blorp. We went blorping. I have played Blorp with Smirk and Dagger. This is a Smirk and Dagger game with Kurt at Game Expo. Finally cracked open our review copy of it. This is a silly monster making game where you are trying to make, there's 3 different types of tiles. You have to match the edges and you're trying to make blobby monsters. And then what you're going to do is you're going to, for every completed monster you have, you're going to get 2 points in your largest of each color, 1 point for any other monster in that color. And then there's something for the biggest of each type. There's a majority bonus.
There's a game that the kids had when they were younger called Monster Factory. I actually don't even know if it's still in print. This is very much like Monster Factory Advanced.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Monster Factory there was only 2 tellers, and your goal was the first person to complete, or you were trying to make a monster as big as possible. When you complete your monster, you start making minions. And one of the neat things that I liked in that game is when you draft the tile, you could play it on your opponent. None of that exists. This is just tile drafting game, 4 tiles up, draft the tile, add it to your monster. Next player goes, keep going until you're out of tiles, score your monsters. There's some kind of weird stuff with these blorpophone trumpets.
That gets funky.
Where you can connect monsters over that aren't actually touching through these blorpophones. And then there's puffballs or something. I don't remember. Spores. I think they're called spores to get points for surrounding them. Super simple tile laying game that had a lot more player interaction than you would think. Because, wow, you got to watch what everyone else is going for and counting who's got the most of this and who has the least and grabbing a tile so someone else can't have it and so on.
The majority thing means you really want to be paying attention, right?
The weird thing I found about this game was the ending. It ended oddly and unexpectedly. So we were kind of caught off guard by the strange ending condition.
Yeah, it was like when there's 4 tiles left before hitting the market.
So 4 tiles in the market and 4 tiles still in the tray that holds the ones before they go into the market. So 8 tiles in reserve total, you're done.
Well, you finished that round though, so you're going to use some of those tiles.
Except the way we played, that happened at the end of the round.
Yeah, it happened to happen at the end of someone's turn, so just abruptly ended.
Yeah.
Honestly, we played once. We'll talk about the ending. Maybe it's just 3 players, a bad player count. I don't know. When I played, it was with like 6.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I am not 100% sure how colorblind friendly this game is. It's something we might want to look into before the review, because they are these. There's 3 colors of the monsters, but they're kind of pale pastel-y colors that aren't brightly differentiated, and there is no obvious functional differentiation between them. There's no
texture.
Yeah.
There's not like all the green ones.
There was. I just think you didn't notice it. The horns are on the reds, the ears are on the greens, and
but it's not.
There was something else on the yellows.
There's not like a pattern that's.
No, there's no pattern, but there were distinct features on each blorp type to help with that. I am pretty sure Kurt would have done some kind of testing for that, but yeah, it's worth looking into. All right, we got a few more. We are talking about these a little more than I thought we would. 12 Rivers, not Grand Gamers Guild, a Good Games Publishing from Australia. Very unique game. We talked about this when we first tried it at Gamma, but now we have a copy in our hands and we played it. Played 3 players. And this has a marble run as part of it, which I think is fascinating. There are 12 rivers that are branching rivers that all go down to one pool at the bottom of the board. And it's worker placement where your workers are basically dams that you're going to put in spots along the river. And then you're going to drop all the marbles. And then when the marbles stop, you read all of your dams top to bottom. And when the marbles are at your dam, you choose one of the colored marbles that's there, and then you remove your dam and it flows further down. You're collecting these marbles to put on an alpaca or a llama. I can't remember which. Llama. Put it on a llama. And then when your llama gets back to the village, you're going to assign these pearls to your villagers. Every villager wants different types of pearls. You can score by collecting sets on your llama. You're also going to score based on how many villagers you fill. And then every villager has some other way to score points, which can be based on all kinds of things like collecting different colors and stuff. In addition to getting marbles, you can also play in the pool, which gets you any marbles that are left at the end of the round, or you can draft new villagers. And I think that's probably a pretty succinct summary of 12
They
rivers.
sit in the pool from round to round until someone collects them. That part's interesting.
Yeah.
Anything that gets all the way to the bottom ends up in the pool. And at the end of the game, the llama runs off with whatever sets are still.
Deanna didn't like that.
I did. I was like, I haven't assigned these sets. They're sitting on my llama. And you're like, oh, the llama's gone. None of those count. Oh.
Yeah. There was also this thing with these fairy tokens you collect that let you break the rules. It's unique. There's also a deal where you're collecting cards and you're pairing pairs of those cards to do things, special abilities. And the cards are also what you're paying. So the higher up the river you go, the more cards you're going to have to pay.
I don't know how many types of cards are. Like, maybe there's like 5 types of
It's
cards.
not many.
Not a lot. And you can only fire off a card if you have a pair.
Yeah, but it's those same cards you're using to spend things. And it's really easy your first play to spend too many of your cards at the beginning and get stuck with nowhere to play.
Realize you don't get many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cards are hard to get.
One of the interesting things that I'm still not 100% sure which way I would like better is when you unleash the rivers, when you let the marbles flow, it doesn't matter what order they're in.
No.
Where it would be interesting to think that the order that they hit the dams is the order you have to choose the one that's pressing up against your dam.
Yeah,
It would be
That'd be
interesting.
a true marble run.
Yeah.
Because right now it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
you know what marbles are going to go where. You
Right,
can
exactly. You
predict
choose
it. There's
from
the-
up to sometimes 6 or 8 marbles you're choosing from, and you
Yeah.
only get to pick one.
But it's fascinating looking at it, trying to guess. Well, you see, some have already been placed. I'm guessing where you guys are going to place between now and the end of the round. And I'm working out what marbles are going to come down, guessing what you're going to take, thinking what's going to get to this stop. All of that's neat. And then there's this variable turn order track that also plays into it. And that's cool.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with, like, as you're removing your workers, they go into a turn track. So like the first one to remove is going to mean you're playing last with that worker later. Though one of the card combos moves you to the top. It's neat. I really liked it more than I thought. It's very, I would say, gateway level, because all you're doing is collecting marbles.
One step through the gate,
Yeah.
but not too far along
It's
the path.
interesting because you can, at least in our 3-player game, you can have it where 2 players take all of their turns and then the other player takes all of their turns.
That did happen.
That
That
was
was
interesting.
mainly because I really wanted some white marbles. That's the other thing. The marbles are worth different points. Just collecting marbles is one way to score points. All right. Torchlit, all play. Hooked us up with this one. It's actually our first time working with all play. So we got to make this one good. So this is a trick-taking dungeon crawler that is a really pure trick taker for how you're playing your hand. But then once you resolve it, is very unique and different and almost complicated.
It's so funky, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because you're bidding. And I lost my bid. I didn't do what I thought I was going to do in the first round of this multi-round game that we played. And I still I scored like 10 points. I scored more points than anyone else. And I'm like, how you can fall into points. And I'm not sure I like that. If I can mistake my way into winning. Now, I didn't win the game overall, but that was my feeling at the end of that first round. I was like, I'm not sure
And
about
the
this.
first round of the first time we played a trick-taking game, I think people could have done things to make sure you didn't get that, but no one was playing at that level.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Nobody
don't know.
was trying to
It
stop
was very much a learning game. No one was worried about stopping
Still
anyone
felt
else.
like you don't end up at the door you think you're going to end up at. Oh, I should let you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, probably let me explain the game a bit first. So this is a trick-taking game. There's a ridiculous number of suits, 7 or something like that. I don't even remember now. Way too many suits, honestly. And then the cards are numbered 0 to 7, and you have 7 dungeon doors that are like cut really well, so they only fit together in order. So there's a significant room for this game. Not a good travel game. So you have these doors, and everyone starts at door 0, and you get your hand of cards, and you're playing tricks, and you it's a must follow, no trump trick taker. No, dragons are always trump. Standard, same trump all the time. So you're gonna sit there, you got your hand, you're gonna play a hand of tricks, and then the person who wins the trick, the highest played card of the lead suit or the highest trump played standard trick taking, is going to advance 1 deeper into the dungeon. In addition, anyone who played a matching numbered card is going to go with them, which can only happen if you can't follow suit.
1 on a 6, and Mo also played a 6. We're both going up.
We're both going deeper. Then the player who played the lowest gets to take all the monster cards, and for every color, every suit, they're going to put those cards at the dungeon door that matches their value.
1 for each suit.
1 for each suit. So they get there's a decision there. Now, part of that going on, now that you kind of know that, at the start of the round, you're going to light your torch by taking 1 card and putting it face down. That's the door you want to end up at. So if I put a 4, I want to end my turn on level 4 of the dungeon.
Nobody knows that but you.
No one knows that but you. Now, neat rule in this game that I've never seen in another trick taker is the last hand of the game, when it gets to you, you can either play your last card or you can play your torch.
I dig that part.
And I really like that because you can set up kind of a backup. And it seemed worth keeping lower cards in case you didn't get as deep as you wanted.
Where it gets funky, though, is the person who wins the trick does not lead the next trick.
No. It's the person who played the lowest card, the torchbearer, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of funky things going on in this game, and I think I liked it, but it took a bit to kind of wrap my head around how it worked. And honestly, reading it made no sense. Once we played the first round, we basically had to almost restart because we were all having a rough time. I hadn't figured out how to describe the game yet, and some of it didn't make sense to me until I saw it. But definitely interesting. So what it actually represents is you're going to open that dungeon door. So at the end of the round, you're going to open each dungeon door, and the people there are going to fight the monsters. Every monster is worth 1 point, where dragons are worth 2. But if there's more than one person there, just like in D&D, you split the XP. So you get half the total, or
you don't want to be at a door where someone else is. Ideally, you want to be at the door you guessed you were going to get to, and none of that's happening because it's impossible to get to the door you want to get to.
I don't know. I didn't have that problem. I hit my bid pretty often in that game. I don't know. I want to hear Sean's opinion on the bidding because it's a different style of bidding, and I know he doesn't usually like bidding at all.
It's interesting. I started off, my gut instinct was I don't like this. This is bidding. When I realized that half the cards aren't worth bidding, it became a little better because you're almost never going to end up at 0 unless you really, really fight for it. And getting to 6 and 7 is almost impossible, at least in our we played full hand. We played like 6 players.
No, we played full 5 players.
5 players. 6 and 7 were basically impossible, and 0, someone was going to stop you. So you really only had 1 to 4, maybe 5 were the only cards you could actually bid. And because you could keep that backup, as long as you played intelligently, watched where you were going, you could even sort of keep an eye on what cards you had and adjust your play in order to cover your bid. And I managed to hit my bid, I think, 3 times. I
have a card down and I kept a card back in my hand, and I'm thinking I'm going to hit one of these 2 numbers, but I still didn't pull it off.
I don't know.
The bidding I could do, but overall I'm not sure because again I'm a little bit with D, along with D on the scoring just doesn't feel quite right. There's something about this game that the scoring isn't working for me, and I don't know what.
I don't know that it's not working for me, but I think it's interesting. Maybe not hitting my bid could score more. Yeah. Because based on where people put those, some of those doors might be really juicy. And if no one's there and there's a whole bunch of monsters at door number 5 and no one else is at door number 5, I might want to get to door number 5, and that's going to be worth more than getting my bid.
No, that was definitely the case.
Well, and also getting someone else's failed bid is worth what was worth points as well.
But that feels random.
No, because you can predict where people bid based on how they're playing. If you're trying really hard to stay somewhere, I know you have a 4. I was doing that.
If you can guess where I'm trying to get to, you're doing better than me because I can't get to where I'm trying to get to. So how can you guess when I'm failing?
Because you'll be sitting there going, I need to go forward. You can just the way people play, their reactions. Gwen was easier to read. Gwen, I almost always knew where Gwen bid. Anyway, first play, more detail. I think it's one that, like, if you're into trick takers, you're going to want to at least give it a try.
It's neat.
It's definitely unique and different. And like I said, I like the fact that they went with very pure follow the lead, single suit trump. Like, the actual trick taking part is dead simple. It's the basest of the basic.
Visually really easy.
Yes, and the visually. The other thing that was funky in this is the number of suits. So, like, usually in trick takers, you want to void your hand. You don't necessarily want to do that in this game. It's often better to have one of each suit.
Because you want to be able to control whether or not you're tagging along with someone.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You want to be able to play off.
So again, we do have the all play version. The art on the cards in this is phenomenal. Like, it's really gorgeous. The self-published original and the Little Dogs game version are very much Little Dog games are very basic. It's a chunky, like almost 8-bit ish sort of dungeon version, whereas the all play art is really nice.
Okay, cool. Next, quick game of Panda Royale the other day. We've talked about this one many times. One of the most popular games at our public play events. One of the games I love when people are like, I don't know what to play. Here, try this. Great for up to 9 players. Well, what we broke out, it's new, is the expansion set. The first of 2, actually, because there's now a second one out. But we're just getting to the first one. Contains 3 new types of dice. I'm going to forget what they're actually called in the game, but I remember what they all do.
Die 1, die 2, and die 3.
So one of them is a standard 6-sided die with pips. Now, all of the dice in the original Panda Royale are numbered dice, RPG style dice. This die with pips, if you collect it, doesn't get rolled every turn like everything else. Instead, it's re-rolls. Every pip on that die can be used to re-roll one other die once. You could spend all 6 at once and re-roll 6 dice, or you can re-roll 1 die this round and 3 dice the next round and then another die. Every time you're spending pips, you roll down your die. When you've used up the last pip, it goes back in the bag. So you're getting re-rolls at the expense of drafting a new die. I dig that one. Next is the wild die. First off, the colors suck. It looks like a red die from across the table. I have a better chance distinguishing it than other people at the table, but enough other people complained.
It was not just me.
Yes.
Like, everyone else agreed that depending on what side it's sitting on, it is hard to make out. It just looks like a red die.
It's a layered die where red is the most prominent color.
They should have swirled it instead of putting it in
I don't know.
Stripes.
But anyway, it counts as any other type of die except yellow, but has to be paired with a die you rolled. So if you rolled your bunch of dice and you got a purple there, you can pair your wild die with purple. If you have blues, you can pair it with blues. If it's red, you pair it with reds and so on. So it just adds to your total. Note, it is not sparkly for the sparkly blue dies. And I apologize to anyone who doesn't know Panda Royale, but you probably don't care about the expansion set unless you do, because I'm not going through the rules of Panda Royale. I love this die when going with a red strategy because all the numbers on it were positive and it greatly increased the odds that your reds are going to be overall positive, but it doesn't add to the multiplier because it's not a red die. The last, or what I want to call the super pity dice, I don't remember what they're actually called. This is a bonus for making a diverse army of pandas, to throw the theme in there. If you manage to fill in your score sheet in one round where you fill in 6 of the 7 columns, so you filled in 6 of the 7 possible dice types, you then collect this pink, and it's the 10s from a set of D100 dice. So it's a die that has 0, 0, all the way up to 90. It's pink. It goes in your pink column, and it's going to get you 0 to 90 points every round. It can cause great big swings in the game, though we didn't see it have that much effect in our game.
So the dice are the pipped dice that gives you rerolls. You're the panda support team. The wild pandas are the multicolored dice, and the wise sage pandas are those that give you from 0 to 90.
Exactly, just as thematic as the rest of the game.
Right. Pink pandas, black pandas. There are no pandas in this game. The pandas are a lie.
While D is not a fan of this game, I do happen to love this game, and I think these were perfectly fine additions. Yeah. I wouldn't say I have to have them, but I wouldn't, but I don't mind them being in there at all either. So it's just a way to change things up a little bit.
Yep.
Do you know what's wrong with this expansion? It made me have to play Panda Royale again.
Yeah.
I do not dig this game. I acknowledge lots of people love this game. It is clearly a lot of fun if you are not me.
But didn't you find the expansion made it a little less random?
Yeah.
You had more choices.
Yes, I felt like I had a little bit more agency.
Which is at least something positive you can say about the expansion. The only thing I was worried about is that it felt a bit like it diluted the original dice set.
Oh, so wait, a little bit more agency, but then also possible more swingy. So does the one cancel out the other? I don't know.
Yeah.
And also, like you pointed out, diluting the dice, you're not getting them all to the table. What you're pulling out, you're not necessarily getting.
Yeah, like it just by adding these in, there's less chance of getting that sparkly blue, and there's less chance of getting the yellow additional initiative dice.
The distribution is messed up in this very carefully balanced panda game.
I don't know. I need to play more. Like I need to play like Sean played the blue strategy. I need to play the blue strategy and see if like often the blue player doesn't get a sparkly die. That'll be interesting to see.
I managed to get a sparkly die, but I think it was the only one that came out. I was surprised no one stole it from me.
Sean had one. That's how he scored his ridiculous
That's why
score.
I beat everyone by like 200 points.
Yes.
Never mind.
I went with a red strategy and had negative like 60 points by round 5. So if it wasn't for that.
Random dice be random.
Yes. We're going to get through this one pretty quick. Cover Your Assets, Grandpa Beck's games. We've already played this. We've already kind of raved about this game. It is their most popular game. I can now see why now that we have a copy. Very accessible, great for people who like traditional card games. What we tried, and this is what I want to talk about here, are the various variants on Play, which is a set of advanced rules. I can't remember if that's what they're called.
I dig the advanced version. It's like 6 thumbs up.
Yeah, so what you're adding in is the penny jar, which I absolutely loved. It counts as a gold or silver, so it's a wild card. But when you're bidding against it, you have to bid 2 things. So if you're using it to challenge someone's stack of cards, they have to reply with 2 copies of it or gold and silver. Basically, it costs double. But it's only worth $1,000 in your end scoring. Really like that one. There is a swap card. There are 2 of them that let you swap the top of someone's stack with the top of someone else's stack, which could be your own.
That one's fun.
That one's evil. Seems like it might be a little overpowered, though, because it does let you swap your base stack. And I actually feel like that's a mistake. I feel like that's an FAQ required.
I dig it. I dig it. Stan.
Just the bottom. Don't let people swap their base stack. The next one is, I don't remember what it's called because I never drew it, but it lets you take move. Okay, so it's move. It's take the bottom of someone's stack and put it on top, or take their top and put it on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And again, it could be yours or your own. Other than that, the game plays almost the same, except you're now taking 2 actions a turn and your hand size is 6. That, to me, changed way more than any of the new cards. That actually felt like a different game now.
I really dig having 2 actions. I just feel like I have so much more control over it. More strategy, more control over
more strategy, more tactics, less randomness with 2 actions.
The only thing I didn't like is the one new rule you didn't mention is now when you're going to steal someone else's by, like, if he has a motorboat and I play a motorboat, I can claim his motorboat, right? Well, now I could claim his motorboat and also the next card down in the stack. I didn't enjoy that because I had a hard time seeing it. Yeah. I don't know what the next card down in everyone's stack is, so I'm just going to ignore that part, and I don't like it.
No one actually did that in our game, our 3 rounds.
Because nobody ever could tell. Frankly, I had no idea what the second one was, so why would I even look at it?
Yeah, so that is the other one, but you have to bid 2. Like you have to start off with playing 2.
You bid more.
We're not bids the wrong term, but whatever. You attack with 2 cards instead of 1.
Yeah, I didn't like that because I just found it didn't work practically.
This was the first time I played it. I haven't played the basic version. I've only played the advanced version. I would happily never play this game ever again. If it never sat in front of the table, I wouldn't bat an eye. It was interesting in that the take that aspect added for some fun. It was amusing watching things go around and get but I didn't find it an enjoyable game. I just thought that there was some amusement that came out of the take that aspect of it.
That's what I like about it is everyone gets invested in this game. Everyone's amused by this game. I don't want to play more than 3 rounds of it. I don't want to play it frequently. I'm never going to suggest, hey, let's go play this one.
I don't know. I dig it. I want Sean to try the original. I think he might enjoy it more with a less.
I mean, the fact that we had a massive runaway problem was definitely part of it. Yeah. Mo essentially won the game, halfway through the second round.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we found a way to break the game where you just sit back and not play. That was not fun.
I did not care for at all. I felt like that needed to be house ruled to be fixed. That was no fun.
Yeah. There's a way where you can get a huge stack and leave it on the bottom, and then just pass by discarding every turn. And because it's your last stack, no one can take it. except by using the swap card. But in that game, both swap cards had already
they
been
were
played.
already used
So-
before you used that.
I mean, it's a little edge case, but it
It's
feels
edge
like it would
case,
come
but
up more
it
often than it
seemed-
wouldn't.
Yes. Yeah, so that is one thing. I almost want to go look for an FAQ to see if someone has addressed that, and it's something that can only come up with the advanced rules. No, it could.
No,
There's
with
no
the
way you're
advanced
going to end up
rules,
with a fat stack
it's
in your
only
bottom
the
pile.
advanced
It's only the advanced
because-
rules. Oh, I forgot one other. You could also add to your existing stacks. You can't do that in the base
Yes,
game.
exactly.
Mhm.
Because now you can add to your existing stack, and now you can steal someone else's stack and swap it
And
with
make
your
it for your
bottom one,
base,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one. Taught some people Ascension Realms Unraveled at our Proto Win game night. So Roger Dodger was there showing off his latest version of Nova Raiders. Local gamer, oh my gosh, I knew her name earlier today and it's gone. It begins with an A. I feel bad. Amanda was showing off this really cool non-collectible card game about forming bands and playing at venues and stuff. But in between was there was a group who played Nova Raiders and had a big question about basically why is there deck building in this game? And they're like, why aren't we drawing from a shared deck? Because that's what I'm used to. Why do we have our own unique deck? And we're like, well, it's because you can buy upgrade cards to specialize your deck. And he's like, well, the upgrade cards were too expensive. I didn't see any reason to buy them, so I never bought any, which might have been a valid complaint about the game. I didn't play in the game. So once they finished, I actually have you played a deck building game where you start with like 10 basic cards that do almost nothing and let you buy new cards and work your way up? They're like, no, I've never played anything like that. Well, I said, here, let me show you a deck building game. Well, we're at Hidden Trail, and the only thing they have is Ascension Realms Unraveled. So I broke that out, played Ascension Realms Unraveled. I still think it's a solid version of Ascension. Not the best first learning game of Ascension.
That doesn't sound like a good entry point.
Not a great one, but these are people who have played enough hobby games. Ended up playing with 4 people. Got utterly destroyed by Max. But Danielle managed to pick it up actually surprisingly quickly for someone who claims they're not a gamer. Michelle stepped out because it's a lot of reading, and they like quick playing, fast playing games, not games where I have to sit there and look at every card and think for 5 minutes between my turns. So it went really well, and it was really good because I was surprised that I was able to use Ascension Realms Unraveled to explain the basis of deck building. I need to look and see, like maybe keep a copy of Dominion on hand for the next time that comes off. But I still dig that version, but man, is it fiddly with the upgrading cards. That's just the one thing. I'm like, that is the one. I'm going to play that on the app instead of in person, because that's the one where you're like, if you happen to have this card in your hand, when you play a green card, it upgrades to this other card. And then there was combos going with being able to draft cards to your hand and play them right away, where it was like you would draft the card and it would upgrade immediately, then get played that upgraded another card, and it was just fiddly. But I still love Ascension. Do you have anything else you played I don't know about?
No, I already snuck mine in.
All right, well, that's it for what we've been playing lately. What about you? What games have hit your table? We'd love to hear about everything you've been playing, especially over on the Tabletop Bellhop Discord at discord.tabletopbellhop.com. In a duality of naming, the adorable dragons of Flamecraft are back in an abstract strategy pattern matching game called Flamecraft Duals, named after the new dual element dragons in the Flamecraft universe, while playing only 2 players in a head-to-head duel. To find the game, though, you need to spell it D-U-A-L, not D-U-E-L.
And they are specific on this one. They get very frustrated when people pronounce this one wrong. They're like, it's duels, not duels.
I'm certain there are people out there typing this wrong to the internet.
I am
getting confused.
So it's a 2-player only, I'm going to call them tokens, chits, tokens, whatever, placement game that comes from the same awesome folk that brought us the original Flamecraft engine building board game. That's designer Manny Vega and the amazing artist Sandara Tang. It's being published by Cardboard Alchemy, who we do have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy of the deluxe edition.
Now, to start, we need to point out that this is 100% a standalone game set in the same universe as Flamecraft. Not only is this not an expansion, it is not even the same type of gameplay. The two are completely different, completely standalone, despite sharing the same look and lore.
We also want to call out that there are 2 versions of Flamecraft Duals, and a standard and a deluxe edition, and we've only played the deluxe edition. Gameplay is identical in both versions, but the deluxe version comes in a fancy jewelry-style box and features upgraded components.
That said, the core components, which is like the the chips, the dragons, the round tokens are actually the same in both. They're acrylic, they're silk screened, and they just feel awesome and they clink nice in the bag. It's the box, the cards, the coins that are all upgraded. The Deluxe also has some like card holders that's a little over the top, but kind of cool. Overall, I would say the component quality is awesome in both versions of the game. Like those dragon tokens are so nice and they look great. Now, one interesting to note, because we are reviewing this on a podcast about travel games, it's actually the retail regular version of the game that is smaller, lighter, and more portable. So if you're concerned about that, you actually want the regular, not the deluxe version.
In Flamecraft Duals, players are competing to complete recipe cards. Each card shows 3 ingredients in a pattern. It's either a combination of 2 different ingredients laid out in a straight line, or it's a set of 3 ingredients in a triangle pattern. Players can complete a recipe by being able to show their opponent the matching pattern out on the board at the end of their turn.
Now, the board in Flamecraft Duals is a hexagonal grid, and you start each game by making a ring of tokens consisting of one of each dragon type around an empty center hex. Each player draws 2 recipe cards from the deck and collects 3 silver coins.
So each turn, the active player is going to draw a tile from the bag, draw a dragon from the bag, and place it on the board. Then you fire up the dragon, which means activating its ability. Each of the 6 dragon types has a different ability, whereas bread dragons, which I know bread dragon always sounds funny, but these are dragon artisans, and it's the type of thing they specialize in. So it's like a baker dragon, but I'm going to call it a bread dragon because that's what I got used to calling it, or yellow if you want to go that way. So bread dragons let you place another dragon and fire that one up. Crystal dragons, you pull 3 dragons from the bag, choose one to keep, throw the rest in the bag, play that one, but don't fire it up. Meat dragons let you move 1 adjacent dragon anywhere. Iron dragons let you move 2 adjacent dragons, but they can only move 1 hex each. And then potion dragons let you swap any 2 dragons on the board. Finally, we have plant dragons. They let you fire up an adjacent dragon doing all of the things I just described.
And there are handy player aid cards to help you remember exactly what every dragon does. If you've played Flamecraft, you're going to recognize these dragon types from the base game. The iconography here is the same as well, which is a nice carryover. The one new thing that Flamecraft Duals adds to the mix are the new dual-colored dragons. Whenever one of these 2-color dragons gets placed, you get to choose which of their 2 powers to fire up. And then once it's out on the board, the token counts as both types.
Now, there is one restriction to when placing your dragons or moving tokens around based on dragon abilities. No single stack of tokens can be higher than 3 tokens high. In addition to placing a dragon, players also have the option to spend a coin to draw 2 new recipe cards. They then have to discard 2 cards, which can come from the cards they already had or the ones just drawn or a mixture.
Yep. Now, once dragon placement movement is done, the active player can score 1 or both of their recipe cards by showing their opponent where the pattern on the card matches the pattern they just made on the board. When doing this, all that matters, though, is the top dragons in a stack, so all the scoring is done like as if you were looking top down onto the board. Completed cards go into a personal score pile, then you immediately replace any completed cards with new ones from the deck, so you always have 2.
A game of Flamecraft Duals is going to end in one of 2 ways. Either the last token from the bag gets pulled, or the last card is drawn from the deck. Once that happens, the active player finishes out their full turn, and then each player gets 1 final chance to score the recipes they already have sitting in front of them, and they can also spend coins if they have any left.
Now, to get your final score, add up the point value of all your completed recipe cards and add 1 point for each remaining coin. The player with the most points wins.
Now, in addition to the standard rules, there's also a different mode of play, which people are going to recognize again from the base game, of the fancy mode. You've got a deck of fancy dragons. You just shuffle that and split it in half. Each player then chooses 1 fancy dragon to be in effect for the rest of the game. Each fancy dragon actually changes the rules, often giving players new ways to spend their coins besides just drawing cards.
I felt it was a little weird how you got to pick any fancy dragon to put into play, and we ended up house ruling where we would deal out 2 to 3 or 2 or 3 to each of us to pick one from, and I like that better, but they are a neat addition. Flamecraft Duals also includes a fountain token with the optional rules for using it. When you use the fountain, a set of fountain cards gets placed out on the table. These are shared recipe cards, with each requiring a straight line of 4 matching dragons. When a player manages to pull this off, they get to claim the matching card, and there's 1 card for each dragon type. And then you get to place the fountain token out on the board. And if you place it in the spot with a stack of dragon tokens, you then keep one of the tokens and return the rest of the bag. And then on your next turn, instead of drawing a dragon, you have to play that token that you had set aside.
Now, finally, you can also play Flamecraft Duals solo, where you have to complete at least one card or spend a coin each turn. If you don't, you lose. You win by completing all of the fountain cards before the recipe deck is emptied or the bag runs out of dragon tokens. There's also an included card so you can rank yourself based on your final score if you win.
Now, as we move on to sharing our thoughts on Flamecraft Duals, I want to start by saying just like how beautiful this game is. Like even the standard edition. Those chips are as nice as every Geek Up bit I've gotten from Board Game Geek. They are so nice, acrylic playing pieces. And I have to admit, I do really like the deluxe upgrades. The metal coins, anytime you have metal coins, it's something, especially like those coins are valuable. I like them having the weight and feel like, oh, I'm spending this valuable thing. But I gotta say, like, I was looking up the MSRP for this. The base game is only 30 US. That seems ridiculously cheap for a game of this quality with all those acrylic tokens. And then the deluxe is only $15 more. And like that's MSRP. I'm sure there are sales and deals out there to be had as well.
The game is just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. The little jewelry box thing just geeks me out. The way it opens and the boards right there, I physically, I just love it. And it's pleasant to touch. Like these are high-end acrylic tokens. They're just fun to draw from the bag. And they're fun to stack up on the board. There's just something satiating there. It's tactilely pleasing. And then even the base game comes with the awesome acrylic tokens in the drawstring. So that's awesome.
All right, well, moving on from how fantastic we find this game to touch and play with, to be clear, the game is much lighter than Flamecraft, the original, especially at the basic game. Now, the weight does climb slightly when you add in the advanced rules, but only slightly.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of game. Like, I always get a little, I don't know if it's frustrated is the right word, but like, I kind of hate when games come out with the same name and they're that different. It's kind of like everyone thinks all the Valeria games are similar and they're not at all into I
enjoy this, but it really feels like it's got nothing to do with Flame.
Like yeah.
And if you like one, you're not necessarily locked into liking the other.
I think that's the most important thing, that like your enjoyment of Flamecraft and your enjoyment of Flamecraft Duals, like there's no carryover there. Like friends of Flamecraft should check this out. Well, unless you're collecting the game for the art. No, fans of Flamecraft Duals, check out Flamecraft. Well, again, unless you're doing it for the Sandora Tang art, there's not a lot of crossover there. And that's the one part about this. Now, I get it. Like, you also branding, you want to go with a name and a look and a style. So I kind of understand why it happens. But like gameplay in this is very straightforward and engaging. But I do have to admit there is a learning curve where you're learning what the fire up powers are for the different dragons. Now, as Deanna mentioned, there's a great reference card for this. And you're going to want to keep that handy, and you're probably going to need the rule book with the more detailed descriptions, at least for your first couple games.
That reference card is easy to read. It's easy.
Yeah, once you've seen it once,
it's useful.
Now, what isn't evident at first, just how much you can pull off on your turn, how much difference which dragon you play where matters, and then what you do moving things around. Like there is a lot of ways you can manipulate that board, and how much the timing matters for like setting up things for the next turn. Like being able to swap pieces is huge, or even moving a piece when you put it on top of another piece really changes the pattern. That gives you a lot of control over the board, both for setting up your next move, right? Like it's usually pretty easy to complete one recipe a turn, but if you can set yourself up to do two, that's just so rewarding. And it's also a good way to block your opponent. If you can see them trying to line up that triangles, especially, you can kind of see them going for it. It's really easy to like move a tile on top to block.
Yeah.
I think that's really neat.
It sounds like you're drawing one tile, placing one tile, but you're doing so much more than that because the powers chain off each other.
Yes.
And you end up moving a dragon over here, which then triggers the power on this one, which then does the thing. And now you've completed your card.
And I got to say, the dual color dragons also really increases your amount of player agency, because those dragons count as both colors for all things. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, when you play them, you got to pick if it's whatever, yellow or blue, to do the ability for yellow or blue. But after that counts as a yellow and a blue. And getting a bunch of same colored like dual dragons next to each other, it makes it really easy to complete multiple cards, and is, I would almost say, invaluable for completing some of the fountain cards when you're using that expansion.
Yeah, those aren't as easy to pull off as you might think.
Now, that being said, while Mo was talking about the agency, this is still a random bag puller. So there is always going to be that random element that is just unmitigated, if that concerns you as a player when you're looking at this game.
Yeah, and randomness is kind of odd because, like, this is an abstract strategy game, and most abstract strategy games have more open information than this. Like, because in addition to the random draw of what token you're pulling from the bag, you're also relying on that random deck of resource cards. And it's not, I guess, if you spend a token, you can go fishing, but like you're throwing away a point.
You mean the
to be able to
recipe
do
cards?
That. Yeah, the recipe cards. Sorry, I said resource cards, recipe cards. This can limit strategic play. You're often playing tactically based on the recipes you have and the dragon you just draw. But you can generally set yourself up for, I would say, one turn ahead. But there is no way to plan 3 or 4 moves ahead. This isn't, I wouldn't call this a chess-like, despite being an abstract strategy game. Plus, there's no capturing of opponents' pieces. And honestly, that's one of the things I actually like about this game. This is, it's thinky, but I don't have to think too much. And especially not between turns. Like, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to sit back and watch what you do, and then figure out how to react. Like, it's casual yet thinky. That's a thing, right?
Definitely. I think that's bang on. Casual but thinky. Like, I'm going with that. I like it. I think it's because it's mainly reactive. Like, you have to figure out your moves based on your draw. And you can plan a bit ahead, but mostly you're going to have to react to the current state each turn. There's no long, deep thinking with plans that you want to hold together in your head for 2 turns out. It's just, oh, I see my best move right now. And now I pass the bag along to you and you do whatever you do. Yeah. Which makes it like, I don't know, it's a light game. It's the opposite of a brain burn game. It's a very casual sit and chat game.
But still thinky. Like, you can't just place things randomly and win.
Yes. So I like it because there's enough strategy and thinking there that I enjoy it, and it's a tiny bit crunchy, but it's easy.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's sort of beer and pretzels, but because it's only 2 players, when it's not your turn, you don't really need to pay any attention whatsoever. But then when it's your turn, you're going to draw that token and focus, look for the move, make the move, find all the things that do your resources, and then you're done, and you don't have to think about it again because things are going to change, and it's not. So it's thinky for that moment, and then go back to your beer and pretzels.
What's kind of funny about that is I have a lot of pictures of this game, because there's that point where your opponent's going and I'm sitting there waiting. So I'm like, I'm going to grab my phone and take pictures. And you can always tell a game that we're talking about by my socials, how much you have to pay attention and invest you are, because the busy, thinky, I'm constantly invested ones, I have like no pictures because I forget. Whereas this is that game where I'm like, I made my move. Okay, you're doing your thing. Let's take a drink. Let's take a picture of the board. And I think that's kind of funny. Now, one thing that does increase the decision space, the amount of control you have each turn, and the overall scores are those variants. Sean already mentioned they significantly up the weight. Well, not significantly, but it is a jump. Both the Fancy Dragons and the Fountain make things more strategic, but they also make the game longer. The Fountain in particular significantly increases the playtime because you're putting tokens back into the bag every time you place that fountain. And one of the ways the game ends when you run out of tokens, and honestly, that's usually how our games end. Though with the Fountain, we did have a couple games end by running out of cards. Without, we never did.
I found it surprising how much longer that little change made such a big difference in the gameplay time.
I was surprised by that. Now, I'll admit, I like both variants. I'll happily play without them, though. I think I like the Fancy Dragons for if you're going to play multiple games in a row. Mm-hmm. I want to play one game, which is the standard rules. Then I'm going to still want to throw in Fancy Dragons just to change it up every time.
Yeah, or if we've been playing it a lot in close proximity in time, then, throw in some variant rules. Well, not variant rules, but they change up.
They change it up. Like suddenly there'll be a market of cards you're drafting from instead of drawing from a deck. That's my favorite, Fancy Dragon, because I like markets. So then you know what recipes your opponent picked up, and the game becomes even more tactical. That's my favorite, Fancy Dragon. And then there's one where you get like Buddy, who's a special dragon that's a wild. That one's kind of amusing too. You literally throw Buddy in the bag, and someone's going to draw Buddy.
They're all that's his name. Very different.
Yeah.
Overall, I love this game. It's gorgeous. It's quick. It's thinky. It's fun. I will happily play it anytime. I will happily teach it anytime. And it has gone over great with everyone that I've shown it to.
Yeah, I take this one too. Deanna's the one that pushed us to look into this one. I'm glad she did. This is up there with my favorite 2-player abstract strategy games. along with Shobu, Zensu, Patchwork, and the Duke. I love having our deluxe edition out at public play events because it catches people's attention, even non-gamers. Every time we break this out, say at a restaurant, or we're at a pub for open mic night one time, we had it out, and like waitresses are stopping by and people on the way to the washroom are like, oh, what are you playing? I always think that's kind of cool. There's honestly nothing I don't like about this game. The only thing I think they could have done to improve it is maybe some kind of crossover with the original game. Like just throw in a promo shop, right? One shop card for Flamecraft, or dual dragon cards that could be added to the original game or something.
All right, well, that's all for the Dueling Dual Dragons. Check out more content on tabletopbellhop.com, including other great two-player games. Do you like chess, checkers, but hate knowing where all the pieces can move in advance? Well, have we got a game for you. A 100% open information, two-player abstract strategy game where you decide how your pieces move.
So Thrive epitomizes that whole abstract strategy mantra of simple to learn, difficult to master. This is an older game, but it's new to us and is still readily available. You're welcome. It was designed by Martin Gritter and features artwork from Shirley Gong, but that pretty much just comprises the box and the board. And the board's just like a sheet of cloth. It's being published by Adams Apple Games, who we do have to thank for hooking us up with a review copy.
Thrive is a two-player only game that's super simple to learn. It plays in about half an hour, though that can really vary depending on the experience levels of the players. And this one can get thinky, and that can lead to long turns. But it's also a game where one silly mistake can cause it to end very quickly.
Yeah, now there aren't a lot of components in Thrive. 6 plastic player pieces in 2 colors each, with a 5x5 grid of small holes on each piece. There's a cloth playmat with a 6x6 grid on it, and a bunch of cribbage pegs in white and red. The box is designed with some extra space, noting it's for an expansion, though one has not been published, at least not yet. The component quality is, I don't know how to say it. It is different from what one might expect. This seems like a game that should have been all wood, and we found that the plastic player pieces were an odd choice. Due to tolerances in manufacturing, some of the slots are harder to peg into than others, though we will say it has been getting better the more the game is played.
Yeah, I remember the first couple of things I pegged in, I didn't even realize weren't all the way in until later getting to a different piece and going, oh, that should be going further. Well, the goal in Thrive is to capture your opponent's pieces, but in this case, you have to capture all but one, not all of them. They get to have one left. You knock them down to one, and the game's over. This is the rule I have seen the most people mess up the first time they play. They play until you have to get that final capture. Not required. You only capture pieces by landing on them, no jumping or anything funky here. Land an opponent's piece, it's removed from the game. Each player starts with their 6 pieces placed on the back row on opposite sides of the board.
The pieces in Thrive are pretty unique. They are small flat squares with holes in the top side. And at the start of the game, a red peg, which represents the current location of the piece, is placed in the middle of each square. And then one white peg is placed into the slot directly in front of this, and the white peg represents where each piece can move.
What this means is at the start of the game, each player's pieces can only move forward 1 space. That's it. Now, here's where the really unique thing about this game comes in. So in Thrive, every time you move a piece, you get 2 new white pegs, and you can put them into any of the open slots on any of your pieces that are left. This is unlocking new ways for that piece to move.
And that's basically it. Like in the simple to learn, like each round, move a piece, add 2 new ways to move to your existing pieces. Capture all but one of your opponents by landing on them to win. You basically are ready to play on your own now.
Okay, yes, there's one other edge case rule where if either player is down to the last 2 pieces and a player can't place a peg because both of their pieces are full, they win the game. In all the times we've played Thrive, that's never actually come up.
Yeah, so it's like chess, checkers, the Duke, and Zensu had a strange love child with a Cracker Barrel peg game. But now this doesn't actually do justice to how fun this game really is.
Okay, that description cracks me up, but that is so darn accurate.
That should be on the box. Big, bold letters. To me, what's fascinating about Thrive is just how much thinking, bluffing, maneuvering, defending, attacking, what this all leads to. Like, Like, this is an abstract strategy game where you have complete control over how you want your own pieces to be able to move. And it can be a lot to take in because there's a lot of options. It's a 5x5 grid that each piece can move in. You're not limited to just moving forward. There's moving back and diagonals and night style L's and so on. And this is one of those games where it can be a lot to think about, both including trying to predict what your opponent will do, trying to plan your own moves, trying to decide what moves to add to your pieces. And often this game becomes a game of who makes the first mistake. And honestly, I like that in that style of game.
And if it's not clear, you don't get boxed in. You can jump over pieces.
Yes.
You just either you can't land on your own piece. That's about the only. It's a very spatial game. There is a lot to track, and I mean a lot. Those little white pegs in each piece denote where it can move to, and more pegs keep getting added, and there are more and more movement options present on the board. It's like you started off playing checkers, but then every turn new moves get added in, and suddenly now it feels more like chess, and then a few turns later, maybe it's more like 3D chess with some variant rules thrown in, and my brain is broken.
Yeah, there is some real potential for AP here, because when you're looking, you can look at your board and you know where every single piece on your move, your selection can move, and you can look at your opponents and you know where every piece can move. But then as soon as they play, you know that two of their pieces, or up to two of their pieces, are going to have more moves, and you have to anticipate where they might want to move, and then you're going to get two new pegs, and it really kind of exponentially ramps up the number, the move tree, because of this peg placement.
Yeah, I dig this game. So I actually fell in love with the concept of this game. The first time I had it described to me a couple years back at Gamma, we were actually looking at something else. But I think it was by the same publisher, and I was like, what's this? And they described it to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds fascinating. So I came home and I looked it up and I read the rules. I'm like, man, this sounds so cool. And I was telling everyone, I'm like, yeah, check out this abstract. It's like the Duke, but instead of the pieces flipping, you're adding more moves. And I found out it was on Board Game Arena. So I'm like, Sean, you got to check this out, because we all love the Duke.
Yeah, no, the simplicity of this game means that while it's certainly nice to have the physical, there's no issue playing this digitally and even learning it digitally. As much as I complain about learning games on Board Game Arena, this isn't one of those. Picking it up on Board Game Arena is great. It's a fantastic way to get some practice in, because you're going to want to practice if you want to play this regularly.
Yeah, so like we played it online. I'm like, yep, I like it. This is exactly what I wanted. But spatial games I'm not good at online, and I know it's a me problem. Like, I have the Onitama app and I lose all the time, but play me in real life, I'll probably beat you. I don't know what it is. I just have a hard time with that. So I wanted a physical copy of this, and I was so happy to actually get a copy there. It was one of my goals for 2026 is I'm going to get a physical copy of Thrive. I like this game. This is my kind of abstract game where I love the feeling of control. And I think the most important thing is the opposite of what Deanna said in one of the games we were talking about earlier tonight. I always feel like it's my fault when I win and when I lose. Like, if I won, it was intentional. I won because I played well. And if I lost, I every single time can point out the mistake I made. Often as soon as I made it and watch the opponent go. I love that. That's what I like in a perfect information abstract. I like to be able to see what I did wrong. But I know this is not for everyone. I was shocked when Deanna tried it, and I was like, let's play again. She's like, no, that's too much. I don't want to do it. I thought this is going to be our next date night hit. It's going to be our new Duke that we play all the time. It's got that quick play time, small print, fits at a coffee shop or brewery. It fits all the niches and check marks to me. Though our youngest kid, Rex, actually likes it more than I do. And it's probably because she's undefeated. No one seems to be able to beat her.
This game hurts my brain. Like, it literally causes my brain to just seize up. It can't just be me. Like, it's a good game. It's an enjoyable, thinky game. It is not a casual game. It is not a have a chat game. It is not a have a pint game. This is not a date night game. It is a stare at the board and pay careful, close attention sort of game. And I don't know how to say it. To me, it just feels like the opposite of fun. Like, this game feels like work. And yeah, I could play it, and I could do it, but like, it feels like work. And if I'm going to play a game, I want to play something.
Yeah, and see, I like this game, but unlike my usual sort of beer and pretzels game, this is the game where you sit down with a cup of coffee and the coffee is cold before you realize it because you've been trying to figure out what's going to happen next and what you're going to do on your turn and what 3 things they're going to do on their turn, and your brain is pouring out your ears.
Oh, I'm amused by these descriptions. So yeah, we've all been playing each other together, playing with the kids. It's had mixed results. We have also been bringing it out to our public events, and the exact same thing's happening. Very mixed results with this. Everyone we've shown it to gets it. Like, this is not, there's no learning curve. Everyone gets the basic mechanics of this game right away. So they did something right with the iconography, the pegs, way it all works. It definitely works. But we have had our fair share of people most often return it after one play, go, that was interesting, they're done. But we've also had people return it, after move 3 or 4, and they're just like, no, this is too much, take it away. But then we've had other pairs of players take it out and keep it out the entire night and ask me where they can get a copy. So this is probably one of the most divisive games we've reviewed.
I think for the right folk, or even more importantly, the right play space, like if you're in the right brain state, this is a great game. But a casual hangout and chat sort of vibe, absolutely not. So I think that's why it hits well with some folks, and then others bring it right back. Depends on what they're in the mood for.
Yeah.
While even I can teach this game, some folks are looking for something a bit more casual and less competitive thinky. In some ways, this is a lot harder than Zensu because of that potential tree of moves that you don't know. Whereas Zensu, you know where every piece can move next. It's not, there's no trick to it. And then thinking about where your pegs need to go and where they're going to want to put their pegs. While in most games, you just need to think about the best move and then it's done.
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely more complex than Zensu. More options, more possible moves, more to consider and track, more to potentially mess up and to have it be your inevitable downfall. On BGG, Zensu is rated as a 2 game weight, and this only clocks in at a 1.42, and that makes no sense to me. Like, that is flat out wrong. Thrive is more complex than Zensu.
I think the weight is based on the game rules. The game rules are simpler in this than Zensu. The basic teach, this is how you play, is simpler.
I think the base rules clock in the same, and then the game play is more complex.
I don't know. To me, this is one of those games where I got exactly what I expected. Like, it's just as simple to learn to play. I'm sure everyone listening now knows how to play and could go pick up a copy or show up at a coffee shop and it's out on the table and be able to play. It's just move a piece, upgrade 2 pieces, win by capturing all but one of your opponent's pieces. That's it. But it's the figuring out how to do that that gets harder and harder the more experienced your opponent is. This is a game where I feel the weight of the game scales with the experience of the players, which I think is also true of Zensu and games like chess. I am sure this is a game where there are people, probably the designer, who has opening moves and finishers and gambits that they pull in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest problem with that is, though, this is one of those abstract strategy games where, in general, it's not going to go good for a new player playing someone who's experienced. Though every now and then, that new player might just rock it and blow you away, which is what happened with Rex, our youngest kid.
That same thing happened to me the first time I taught Rex Zensu. They just approached the game from a different angle that I had never even thought of before and actually beat me on their first play.
Yeah, it's one of those games where, especially because when you do lose, it's often a mistake. So all they have to do is manage to play strongly enough for you to make the mistake first, and then they can win. Well, that's our move. Now it's time to put a peg in 2 reviews for next time.
Now, we all know Deanna and I are always looking for new 2-player game experiences. What's a new to you 2-player game we should be checking out?
Leave a comment wherever you found this review, either social media share, over on YouTube, on the blog, etc. Mo is out there looking for comments all the time. I'm sure he'll see it.
Do you love going alone in euchre? Do you hate knowing how many cards of what suit there are in your deck? Well, likely the answer to the above is no. You might change your mind after trying this interesting and unique take on trick-taking with a witchy theme.
So 3 witches, that's the number 3 if you're trying to rush to Board Game Geek right now and look it up, not THREE, the number 3, is a 3-player only trick-taking game from Corey Young, featuring artwork from Sai Beppu that's part of the Tiny Game series of games from All Play, who we do have to thank for letting us take a copy home from a really nice media lunch they hosted at Gamma Expo.
Now, every hand in Three Witches is a 2 versus 1 battle. If you're a fan of classic card games, the game is a bit like going alone in euchre, though there's also a lot here that sets it apart. You can get through a single game in under half an hour, and we found we usually play at least twice in a row whenever we break it out.
As you would expect in a game in a game from Tiny Box series of games, the box for Three Witches is really tiny. Maybe only half an inch longer than a standard playing card and about as wide. In the box, you get a folded up set of rules, a bunch of cardboard crowned skull tokens, 3 very useful reference cards, and 1 bidding card, and an 18-card deck. This deck is split over 18 cards coming from 5 suits with 1 special elixir card. The card values in each suit range from 1 to 7, but aren't the same over each suit, something that will take you a bit to get used to. For an interesting thematic tie-in you probably won't even notice while playing, each suit and value has a name. So for example, Eye of Newt is a 2 in orange, the Wing of Owl is a 6 in brown, and so on.
So Three Witches is a bidding trick-taking game. Start by dealing out 6 cards to each player. Player who has the elixir card says, hey, I've got the elixir card. Then the player to their left starts the bidding process. Now, despite having 6 cards in your hand each, a round of Three Witches is only actually 5 hands, 5 tricks long. So when you bid, you're either going to bid that you're going to take 3 or 4 of the 5 tricks, or you can pass. Now, if someone does bid 3, the other players get a chance to up the bid to 4. But as soon as someone bids 4, they won the bidding process and they become what's called the lead witch, and they're going to have the lead for that hand. If all players pass, then you don't just end the round. Everyone passes 2 cards to the player on their left, and then the person with the elixir has to pass it, and then you do it again. If you end up doing that 3 times, then the player with the elixir must bid at least 3, and then you're going to start into the actual hand of cards.
Now, once you've determined who's the lead witch, the other 2 players are now known as the lesser witches, and they form a team and work together trying to beat the lead witch. The lesser witches each discard 1 card face down. And note, there is no tabletop law in this game. The lesser witches don't know each other's cards. You're just doing this based solely on your own hand.
Each trick, each team will play 2 cards, and it's combined value of those cards that determines who wins the trick. When the hand is done, if the lead witch hits their bid exactly, they earn 2 fate tokens, those crowned skulls. Otherwise, their opponents get 1 token each. And the first player to 5 fate tokens wins the game.
So playing a trick in Three Witches is unique and interesting and takes a bit to get used to. Starts with the lead witch playing 2 cards, 1 of which is face down. Note if they play their elixir, it has to be the face down card. Then the first lesser witch, going clockwise, must follow suit and play a card in the matching suit if they can. If they can't, they can play any card, but they also have the option to pass. Then the second lesser witch must follow suit if they can. If they cannot play they can play any card, but they can't pass. Then it goes back to the first witch. If they passed, who then can play any card. Now it's tactically very much to the first witch's advantage to pass if they can, because then they get to see what the second witch plays before they play off suit, trying to make a better pair.
The lead witch flips their face down card, and then you figure out who won the trick by comparing the 2 pairs of cards. Cards of the same number or the same suit get added together, and otherwise it's the highest card in the pair that counts, just the one highest card. The elixir isn't worth anything on its own, but it doubles the card that it gets played with.
After the trick is scored, things get a bit funky again. If the lead witch won the trick, they choose one of the 2 cards they played in the last trick to pick up and add back into their hand. If the lesser witches won the trick, they decide as a team what card the lead witch has to pick up. Yes, this means you're always getting to know at least 1 card in the lead witch's hand.
Now, all of that is quite different from traditional trick-taking, and it's going to take you a few plays to wrap your head around it. Especially learning how the lesser witches can best play together to beat the lead witch, and the whole lead witch picking up their own cards thing is rather unique. Adding to this is just how odd the distribution of the card ranks is. So not all the suits are even in this game. Only 2 of the suits have 4 cards. The other 3 suits only have 3 cards in them. And the ranks are honestly kind of all over the place. Like, for example, the newts have 2, 3, and 4. So that's pretty simple. It's in a run. But the dragons, there's a 1, a 2, a 4, and a 7.
What I do love about this game is they do not expect you to remember that. It is on the cheat card that they give you, and you will be staring at that thing. This game is all about card counting and playing the odds and trying to predict what cards the other players have and then trying to make the best pairs. And what's nice about the card counting is that there are only 18 cards, and you've seen at least 6 of them because you had them in your hand. So that means there's only about 12 other cards left to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate card counting. I'm not a card counter, never have been. But I don't actually mind trying to keep track of the cards and the odds in this game. But you must have that reference card until you've been playing this game like regularly, like as a, minimum, like as a weekly game night sort of thing. You're not going to memorize the card distribution quickly.
Yeah. The biggest problem with Three Witches is just how different it is from pretty much every other trick-taking card game I played. I have played a lot of trick-taking card games, and I think the fact I played a lot and have set expectations of the way trick takers works actually made this game harder for me to learn and wrap my head around at first. There were so many deviations from what I expect to be the norm in a trick-taking game that I was overwhelmed. I actually think this is one of the few trick-taking games that's going to be easier to learn if you've never played a trick-taking game before. And that's one of the reasons I actually don't like the comparison of people saying it's like going alone in euchre, because this is actually one of the least euchre-like trick-takers I've played. There's no trump. There aren't bowers. Heck, it's not even a highest card played of the lead suit wins in this one. It's all about combinations.
I mean, we all play trick takers, so we can't test it out, but I think your theory may be right. This may be easier to learn if you've never played a trick taker. As it is, there's a heck of a learning curve here.
Yes.
It's worth it. It's fun, but man, does it take a minute to kick in.
See, and this is interesting. Now, I play slightly fewer trick-taking games than you guys. You guys get a few in that just never get to me. But immediately when I started playing this game, it felt like going alone in euchre. It was comfortable. My brain went immediately to that sort of play. And while there are absolutely notable differences, I mean, again, there's that reference card that you really need.
Yes.
I was 100% there. It felt all right. It felt normal. The strategies immediately started coming to me. I don't know. And again, I'm not someone who doesn't know trick takers. I used to play euchre in high school every lunch hour. And maybe that's why the going alone felt so natural. But
maybe it's just been too long since I played straight up euchre.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And I guess that you also benefited from the fact that we had figured the game out by this point.
That's true.
Because our first play of this
was rough.
Yeah, it was one of the roughest first plays I've ever had. First time it was me, Deanna, and Rex. And like I was constantly referencing the rule book. We had literal false starts where like, wow, we are doing this so wrong. Let's just start over. This isn't just the Bellhop's rule where your first game's going to be extreme. It was at least our first 3 hands.
Broken levels of extreme. We're just like, stop. We got to restart.
Well, the first time we played, right, we missed the rule where the lesser witches discard a card. So we're sitting there playing it, and we're like, why do the witches keep winning? The lesser witches, well, they had one more card in their hand, so they had more options.
And what do we do with this one we have left?
And then we're like, what do we do with this? And like, honestly, I had to reread the rules. And it's, you know what the biggest thing is? The format. I hate, because it's a small box, is that 2-sided floppy rule book. I hate those. So I'm like going through and it's small text trying to find it. And eventually I found it. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to discard at the beginning, which does mess with some of that perfect information in card counting, which is a good thing in this kind of game. And then like there was something else. I know we messed up the lead witch picking up cards and who decides what they pick up. Thankfully, that was a nice lazy afternoon. We were in no rush, so we played until we got it. So I think Sean definitely benefited from getting that. And everyone we've taught the game since, we now know what to watch for.
It's not a hard teach once you understand the game, but it is still a learning curve to pick it up, I think, even with a educated teach.
I agree. And that distribution is just so odd. Like I don't know how many times the designer had to play test this game or how many rounds of development it went through to come up with the exact distribution for each suit, but it works somehow. And it works in ways you don't realize until you played a bunch of games. Like at first you look at it like the our numbers seem completely arbitrary, but I am sure they're very deliberate for what they are. And I do like that there's only one weird exception rule, which is with the number 2 eye cards that seem really well balanced, because it's unlikely a 2 will win a trick on its own, but forcing the lesser witches to play bind is really powerful. And I think somehow we missed that in the rule summary.
Yeah, we might have skipped that part.
We might have skipped that part somehow. It was in there earlier. I don't know. It might got erased. So when you play a 2 as the lead witch, it has to be your face-up card so everyone sees it. But when that happens, the lesser witches have to play their cards face down, which is huge because, like, that whole knowing what your opponent plays, how are you going to make good combos?
If Mo's my partner against the lead witch and he's playing face down, I don't know what I'm putting with it. So, yeah. I have no idea how they came up with this card distribution, but it is brilliant. It just works, and it is really neat.
And one of the things that's also really cool about this game that might not have been clear is the lead witch changes, right? Like the teams shift and change during play. So it's not always the same player being the lead witch each round. That changes each hand depending on how players bid. And the way scoring works, it's perfectly possible to win the game without ever being the lead witch. And then there's this really cool thing that I found happens every now and then, where you end up paired with a player who's at 4 points. So you're with your partner. If you guys win, they win the game and you don't. So you're actually trying to sabotage your partner and lead it so the lead witch wins. And I loved that game state.
Yes, and just because you're my partner in this hand does not mean you're going to be my partner in the next hand. It's just really neat.
Now, I love trick-taking games, but many of them are not great at 3 players. 3 Witches, on the other hand, only works at 3 players. And I've got to commend Corey and the All-Play team for publishing a 3-player only game. That takes some guts nowadays. Most of the time, games are marketed to the widest audience possible. And I also have to commend them for making a really damn good 3-player game. Well, it took us all a bit to really wrap our heads around the game. Now that we love it. I also love the portability. This is one of those games, toss it in the glove box of the van, throw it in your purse when we're going out. And whenever there's 3 of us with some time to kill, just break it out. It's nice and quick. Especially if you just want to play one round, you can get that done in minutes. I think trick-taking card game fans are really going to dig this one, as long as you're willing to get over that initial learning curve.
Oh, and it's a small detail, but it's a really tiny box, but it's also a really thick, durable box. It's going to put up with being tossed in your purse or your glove box.
One thing I want to note is Corey does have a blog and has some designer notes on 3 Witches. The initial concept for this came in 2015, and while there was a little gap, he started back in on it in 2018. Before the first version was released in print and play in 2022.
And to add to that, we've got a guest in our chat room tonight who I didn't know was there. Corey is actually in our chat room right now and did know it took a lot of work, about 2 years of contemplation to come up with those numbers. And I'm surprised it's not longer than that.
So as we noted earlier, we think this game is going to be great for folks who don't have a lot of trick-taking game experience, as it deviates from the norm in so many ways. A group going in without any preconceived notions, we may have an easier time learning the game than a trick-taking game expert. Although, as I discovered, if you've got someone who's already figured out the game, that may go a long way to having a good, solid teach.
This is a game where, have someone teach you the game. It's going to be better than learning from the rule book, if you can.
If your regular group happens to have 3 players, this is a no-brainer. You need to check out 3 Witches. There's not that many solid 3-player only. I can't even think of another 3-player only game out there that I've tried and enjoyed. So
there was the one 3 Kingdoms Redux or Redo. I don't know how that's pronounced. That's the one.
Joy at the end there.
Oh, okay, true. Well, that's it for our thoughts on 3 Witches. We don't always agree on every game. This is one where none of us had to go alone. We all agree this is a great 3-player gaming experience.
There aren't a lot of 3-player only games or even multiplayer games out there that are best at 3. What are some of your favorite games for a trio of gamers? Let us know, especially at discord.tabletopbellhop.com. Well, that was the double bell.
That means our shift's coming to the end and we're going to have to lock the lobby doors.
Before we start locking things down, let's take a moment to thank some of our Tabletop Bellhop Patreon patrons, all of whom are awesome. Derek Hissall, thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Jeff Fartman.
Thank you, Ron F.
Thanks to you, Joe Swick.
Brian Van Beek. Thank you.
William Fisher. Thank you.
Well, we've hit the end of this podcast episode. You can always find us at tabletopbellhop.com. Be sure to say something if you like our content. We crave your appreciation, and we like to know where people are finding us.
Yeah, that's always cool because we can't tell. So, drop some words so that we can figure it out.
Yeah, I'd love to know how people found us, actually. That'd be really cool. Well, that's all for us tonight.
For the Tabletop Bellhop Gaming Podcast, I'm Sean.
I'm Deanna.
And I'm Mo.
Thank you.
And
game on.